Before we begin, in the spirit of reconciliation and respect, the InkGuild acknowledges that we live, work, and play on the traditional Treaty 7 territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, as well as the Stoney Nakoda and the Tsuut'ina nations. This territory is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. Finally, we acknowledge all Indigenous and non-Indigenous to honor and celebrate this territory alongside us. Hello, audience, viewers, listeners, people listening to this podcast, and other people who are perhaps here also. I am your host, Venom Dean. Dean has gone missing, and I am his psychically induced hypnotic decoy clone. And this is our episode where we're talking about Metal Gear Solid with, once again, featuring the Soibois. So, Soibois Morgan, would you like to say hello?
Hi, I'm Morgan. I lead the Soibois.
Soibois Morgan.
We are not a military, we're not a militia group, unfortunately. Even though, one of our members is dressed up like a...
Yes.
I don't know what to say.
Liquid Gabe, a.k.a. Michael.
Nice. Nice. We can't hear you.
He's muted.
Michael, you're muted.
What?
You were
muted for that whole thing.
Can we restart this? I had such a good roll going.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we restart it? I feel so embarrassed. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
I feel terrible.
Don't.
My. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hey there.
Bonjour. My name is Dean, and welcome back to the InkGuild podcast. Just go to fucking therapy.
Don't correct me. I don't care.
Need to start a revolution.
I'm going to fucking explode if I don't say this by now.
She would challenge them to a double dutch.
I'm going to summon up his spirit to fix all of this up for me.
You didn't have good enough tea and or comic books, so...
And you know what? I'm gonna say it.
All of them are fucking idiots.
Simply everyone is taking cocaine.
Just say your morning routine.
You're replicant breathing.
I'm so excited to find out if Jughead got abducted by aliens or not.
Boneless.
Is your refrigerator running? Better go get it then.
Hello there, listeners, viewers, watchers, readers, dreamers. I am your host, Venom Dean, and I'm here with Big Dean from the InkGuild podcast. I'm also here with the Soibois, and today we're gonna be getting dog damn talking about Metal Gear. Would everyone like to say hello?
Hi.
Oh, brother! I wasn't muted this time. That's awesome.
No, you were not.
Yeah.
That came through totally.
Yeah.
What do you
You
mean? This is our
recognize-
first time doing this intro.
Yeah,
This is our first time
Morgan,
doing
you
this intro.
recognize who I am?
I do recognize who I am.
I am
Dean
your
does not.
brother. Liquid
Brother!
Gabe.
It's
Brother!
been long.
This is gonna be great.
This is gonna be a great time. For those of you listening, the four of us, and by the four of us I mean me, Michael, Morgan, and Everest, we have all played to some extent Metal Gear. So what this episode is basically going to be is me christening Dean into this franchise by way of brute forcing all of the knowledge into his brain at once.
Yeah, literal sensory overload.
We're gonna fucking MK Ultra you.
What the fuck?
Metal Gear is really just Project MK Ultra, but there's no acid.
Oh god.
Well, we'll get to the acid.
Oh,
There is
no.
acid, yes.
I have a question.
Yes. Before we get going.
So, if we messed up the original opening to this and are now re-recording it, are we risking creating a time paradox?
That's a very great question. This is a really great question. We might be. Is the answer.
Oh my god. If that happened, it's full circle.
It's full circle.
We've got Colonel Wild coming in over the codec, letting us know we've created a time paradox.
You've created a time paradox.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's my question. Thank you for answering.
It's all. Your question is now answered. I will now get into the next slide of several. Again, like last time, I had to do a disclaimer. Much like NieR, I am not a Metal Gear expert, although I have played more of the games than with NieR. I have played pretty much all of them, except for 3. But like this slide says that you can read with your eyes, I understand none of them. And yeah, the bottom paragraph is that's just me being honest. I don't totally understand everything about this franchise. I played all of them. I couldn't goddamn played all of them, but yeah, there's shit that I might get wrong, especially regarding the entire last hour of Metal Gear Solid 2. We'll get to that.
Let's be honest, the only person who truly understands Metal Gear is Kojima himself.
And even that is questionable.
Even that is...
Kojima's talked many times about how he really doesn't understand his games.
Oh, great!
I remember there was an interview that really cracked me up with Mads Mikkelsen about Death Stranding, where he says that he does not know what happens in the game because he doesn't get it.
I love when they interview Norman Reedus, and Norman Reedus is like, "Man, this guy's crazy. He's not even gonna try and figure out what it means."
He's just like, "Yo, this is next level shit." But no, we're not gonna talk about Metal Gear Solid 2 right away. We're instead gonna talk about Metal Gear Solid 3, the first game chronologically in the series.
Gabe, don't you mean we're gonna talk about Metal Gear 3-1, as in World War II?
Let me tell you something. You're actually right. We are going to talk about World War II because
I don't know the script. I'm just guessing these things.
There is no script. I just know the PowerPoint really well because I've gone through it a bunch of times. But the first thing we're going to talk about is World War II, because before we talk about the events of Snake Eater, we have to talk about where the series started, which is a group of people. You could call them that, called the Cobra Unit. Now, so what the Cobra Unit was, this is where, for anyone who was just listening to us have some jokes before, we're now in it. We're in the presentation. It's starting now. It started now, as of now. So the Cobra Unit is where the story more or less begins.
Gabe.
So yes.
Would you mind if I give a quick caveat to Dean, just that his brain doesn't explode with all his awesomeness?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Right. So, Dean, each game we talk about in the series, whenever you hear that there is a collective known as a team or a group, or it's an animal name with multiples,
right,
that is like a Scooby-Doo villain of the week, and you don't need to remember these people, but they're really cool on their own, okay?
You don't need to remember all of them. I'm only going to talk about a couple of them per game because only a couple of them are truly worth talking about. But yeah, the Cobra Unit is the very first one. And what the Cobra Unit was is they were a unit of more or less experimental soldiers during World War II who were they were basically a bunch of superpowered freaks that the Allied nations were like, hey, the German governments and the other guys, real bad. What if we send a bunch of fucking freaks after them? Freak number one is this lady called the Joy. The Joy is the leader of the Cobra Unit, and she's basically just a super mega badass, and she leads the Cobra Unit on their fight to go fucking get Hitler or something. I don't actually know what the Cobra Unit's deal was in World War II.
What is that?
They were just
context. That's from Persona 2.
It is from Persona 2. The Cobra Unit's members included this guy named the Sorrow, who was the Joy's husband, and also a ghost man, a necromancer, a something is sure is something. There's this guy, the Fury, who's a fucking astronaut. It was not an astronaut, a cosmonaut, because he's Russian, and he spits fire out his dick.
Also possibly a ghost.
Also possibly a ghost. They might all be.
Oh my god! The fucking
actually, yeah, that's yeah.
The next guy is this guy. That's him. The next guy is a guy named the Pain, who controls an army of telekinetically controlled bees.
You forgot. The Fear is really scary, and he's double jointed.
He is double jointed, and he has a really long tongue.
He's got a really long tongue, and it's pointy.
Finally, my favorite. the best boy, a guy known as the End.
Yeah.
Whoa! What is up with his eyes?
The End. Oh, his eyes are crazy. The End is a sniper who is like hundreds of years old. He's just a really, really old man, and he's on this team. Now, essentially, aside from the Cobra unit being a group of super badasses, during World War II, they also they're on the beaches of Normandy, and while they're on the beaches of Normandy, the Joy is pregnant, and they have to give her a fucking C-section, resulting in a baby being born on Normandy via C-section. We'll get to the baby. From this point on, she is known as both the Joy and also as the Boss. This is her initial. This is what she's known as for most of Snake Eater. She's called the Boss. The Joy is just a different code name that she also has. So from this point on, whenever I refer to this character, I'm going to call her the Boss. I'm not going to call her the Joy anymore. Get used to that. Get used to that.
A lot of characters have multiple names that they go by throughout multiple games.
Yes. Yeah. So
do you have a photo of the Joy / the Boss and her cesarean scar? Because it's probably one of my favorite features in all the games.
I do have that later down the line. I think I have that. Yes.
Thank heavens. It's not what you'd think. It's a bit bigger than a regular cesarean.
It's not a normal C-section scar. I'll say that much.
No.
And so, following World War II and following becoming this sort of legend in the ranks of the U.S. military, she takes on a protege who is this guy named Jack. So you might recognize him as Snake, but he's not the Snake that you think he is, Dean, because I know you only know about Solid Snake. He's not Solid Snake. And this is where we introduce the chart of snakes. Get used to seeing this frame a lot, because we're going to go back to it.
Yeah! There's a lot of snakes.
There are a lot of
too many snakes, bro.
There are a lot of snakes, starting with Naked Snake.
There's too many snakes on this. There's too many motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
There are lots of different snakes, as you can see by the color chart below, which will be very useful later down the road when more snakes get added. There are quite a lot of snakes and quite a lot of people under the name of Snake for various different reasons at various different points of time. All the time, at all times. So Naked Snake is a part of something called the Virtuous Mission at the start of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. So he's basically being led by the Boss and this guy over here on the right corner. I don't know left from right automatically. The guy on the right corner whose name is, we'll just call him Zero. He's known as Master Zero. But we'll just call him Zero for all intents and purposes.
Right.
This fucking dick is called Zero. So basically, the Virtuous Mission is that they have to go into I believe it's Soviet territory to extract this guy, Sokolov, he's a guy. He's a guy, and he's doing stuff in Russia. He's doing all kinds of stuff in Russia. And while Snake is on the way to extract Sokolov, he runs into fucking this guy.
Oh, best boy.
Who at this point in time, he's only known as Ocelot, and he just carries around a regular old Makarov. Gets in a little tussle with Ocelot and gives him a whole fucking lecture on guns before knocking him out. And then beating up, and then he meets up with Eva tangentially whilst on the Virtuous Mission, and then they go and they get Sokolov out of there. Except something goes fucking wrong, because the Boss suddenly shows up out of fucking nowhere and is like, I'm defecting to the Soviet Union. I'm getting the fuck out of here. And before Snake can really start to question this, so the Boss is now, the legendary war hero from World War II, is now turning traitor and is defecting to the Soviet Union. So this leaves Snake wondering why, but he can't wonder why, because right behind her is this guy named Volgin, who is a Russian Dark Lord of the Sith.
What?
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
Oh yeah, so the U.S. and the troops had B-Man and several ghosts, and then on the Ruski side, because they're not as cool as us, they only have one lightning god.
They have one Sith Lord.
So you see on his knuckles how he's got the 50 cal bullets. He hits them with his thumbs, or he punches them and hits them with his palms. and the current goes through his knuckles and shoots the bullets. So he'll like punch someone, and then bullets come out through their chest.
And he goes like Kuwabara, Kuwabara when he does it. It's really important to remember because he doesn't do it later. We'll get to that. But right now, so basically they take the nuclear missiles from the base, and Volgan is like, hey, you know what? You know what would be a really great time? What if I did some fucking war crimes? And he starts just nuking shit, which then leads to Operation A Snake Eater. So Operation Snake Eater. Yes, the Dean. After this, you have to go look up the Snake Eater theme because
we should really just listen to it together. It's a fantastic song.
I don't think we can listen to it on podcast, but that is something we should do.
Because each Metal Gear game is supposed to feel like a different type of spy movie, which is why, like, with Solid Snake, you always see this, like, Mission Impossible, like, sneaky dun 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 dun. But, like, Snake Eater is, like, classic 60s James Bond, and it has this big, bombastic, like, orchestra big band opening that has, like, flowers and, like, newspapers and, like, dancing sexy ladies in it. I don't think that's sexy ladies, but, like, you get the idea.
All right.
Did you say like bombastic?
Think like the Gold Member or
Bombastic?
Like the Skyfall opening.
They call me Mr. Bombastic. Anyway, Biggie Cheese reference aside.
Biggie Cheese is the best soldier.
Biggie Cheese is the best Metal Gear character.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so now that Volgan has committed several war crimes, and the boss, along with the entire, I forgot to mention that the entire Cobra unit goes with her, and they all defect to the Soviet Union. Now Snake is sent on Operation Snake Eater, where he has to climb several ladders, and he's Snake, and their goal is to capture or kill. I think it's just kill. It could be capture as well. I'm pretty sure it's just kill the boss as a traitor. And he meets up once again with Eva, who dresses like this. Did I mention these games are Japanese?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's war practical.
There's a little mechanic in the. Oh, you go.
I was about to say, Dean, this isn't even the least practical outfit in the series. So, like, get used to this, Buckaroo.
Oh,
that's a chart. That's a chart and podcast episode in and of itself.
Jesus.
I could keep interrupting with all these little things. First of all, I had it muted if you saw me yelling at Gabe with my mic muted. But when he was talking about Ocelot, I asked if he could show the class how does Ocelot call the Ocelot unit to action.
Oh my god. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, he meows.
Instead of calling for soldiers to come in, he just meows like a cat, and all the soldiers run in.
It's bullshit. No, there's actually no fucking way. Seriously?
That's real.
I'll send that video.
That's amazing.
I'll send that video.
He goes like, meow! And the Ocelot unit's like, wow, we've been called in, boys.
That's amazing.
Let's get this bread.
Ocelot boys like thinking to themselves,
okay,
man, I'm gonna fucking risk my life for this, man.
On the boob motorcycle outfit, there's a mechanic in the game where during cutscenes, Snake will clearly be having a reaction to something, and you can look through his eyes. And when he first meets Ava, and Ava like has her outfit open, he's like, "Damn straight," and you can look through his eyes, and he's looking at the tits. Then it goes back to him, and he's like, "Damn straight."
This is a good game.
He is the best soldier.
All right.
And Eva is there, and so they. I'm skipping over a huge chunk of story here, but basically, Snake decides that at some point he's got to infiltrate the base. So he gets a disguise. He disguises himself as Volgan's boyfriend. But he gets quickly snuffed out because Volgan grabs him by the nuts and identifies him as a fucking imposter by his dick size.
That's sus.
It's pretty sus.
That's a real image. Oh my god.
That's a real image. That's not even an exaggeration about what happens in the game. Volgan grabs him by the dick because that's their form. That's the formal greeting. That's their formal greeting, and then it's like, wait, your dick's not big enough.
Morgan.
I was just gonna say, there's a bunch of Japanese media I can think of right now where the humor between two males is just, I grab your balls.
I grab your balls.
I was thinking with like, this is the second least popular scene in a Metal Gear game where they talk about someone being in disguise and someone else runs and grabs their dick and be like, this is not what I was intending to feel. Like, this is not... I forgot about this one because there's another one that's way more popular.
There is another one. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I remember because it's one of those, like, Kojima predicted the future events.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the one with the president.
That's right.
I think we're
there we go.
This is the one that sticks out to me the most because I just
God,
love this whole
president.
sequence so much. Yeah, basically, so Snake gets captured by Volgan, and he gets his fucking eye shot out during an interrogation. Following this, he escapes, fights with a bunch of the members of the Cobra unit. Basically, the Cobra unit all have, because Snake Eater was when Kojima went fucking ballistic on game design, all the Cobra unit have totally wacky methods of ways that you can defeat them. My personal favorite is the End, who because he's a sniper, you engage them in a sniper battle, and he could be beaten with the power of dementia and the PlayStation clock system. If you don't understand what I'm trying to get across, the way, Dean, that you beat this guy, or one of the ways that you can beat him, is during the boss battle, close the game, go into the clock system in your the date and time settings on your PlayStation settings, change the settings to 2 weeks, and then you go back to the game and he's died of old age.
That's amazing. Oh my god.
It's
pretty based.
It's pretty fucking based. And then if you go to him, you just find this old dead guy, and Zero is like, Snake, what the fuck? Why would you do that? You're a dick. Following this, Snake goes to have the whole big confrontation with Volgan, but first he bangs Eva. Forgot about this. I forgot to put this slide in here. First he bangs Eva, then leaves to go get Volgan, and Volgan reveals something called the Philosopher's Legacy. Hang on a second. I need to take a shot before I explain the Philosopher's Legacy.
Making the Philosopher's Legacy.
Oh my god. So the Philosopher's Legacy. I used a picture of the Patriots here. Don't call me out on that. I just did, so you can't now. But basically, the Philosopher's Legacy there's this group called the Philosophers, and they are basically a bunch of rich people who formed together following World War II, and they were like, "Hey, we got lots of money. What if we put that money together and formed a group of a bunch of guys who have lots of money and do stuff with it, possibly, potentially, who knows?" And the rest of the members just collectively went, "Yeah, all right, sounds pretty good to me." And then they did that, which gave way to this computer chip called the Philosopher's Legacy. It was basically just this chip that contains all of the bank information and all the basically all the credit card debt, not debt, just all the numbers and all the data required to access the Philosopher's Legacy. So this isn't necessarily the Philosopher's Legacy itself, but it's what's required to access it and basically get super duper rich. And Volgan, because he's a Dark Lord of the Sith, he's like, "Hey, that sounds pretty good to me. I want in on some of that." And Snake's like, "No, that sucks." So Volgan gets into his... Michael, help me out here. What is it called?
Are we going to talk about the robots?
We are going to talk about the Metal Gears, but
if you call on me to talk about the robots, this podcast will never end.
I just forget what the name of this one is off the top of my head.
I'm going to hold you hostage for like 2 minutes to explain it really quick. So, for Dean and everyone who's new with this, a Metal Gear, like the name of the game, a Metal Gear is a walking tank with an ICBM. It goes on this concept that if you have an ICBM, a ballistic missile capable of launching a nuke, it has a certain range, and so you can take it via truck or boat anywhere in the world, and you could technically nuke anywhere. But if you had a mobile launching station, you could technically get that station to go anywhere and shoot it wherever. So this is what the guy, Sokolov, the doctor who Snake helped get to America at the beginning, he made this. This is called the Shagohod, and this is the first Metal Gear. The Shagohod was like this walking kind of tank and then from there they made it upright, and that became a Metal Gear.
My brain kept going. I knew it was an S, and my brain kept going to Sahelanthropus, but I knew that wasn't right.
Oh, is that in this one? Is that in this podcast too?
That we are going to talk about Sahelanthropus. I forgot if I put an actual picture of Sahelanthropus in it. I definitely did, but I don't remember where it is.
You could draw it.
I could definitely draw it. It's
take
very
a photo.
easy to
You
draw.
take a photo of Ray, and you give it a rib cage.
Yes. So Volgin is like, hey, don't do that. I want the Philosopher's Legacy. So he gets into the Shagohod and he shoots a bunch of lightning and hang on, I skipped a couple slides here. So he gets into the Shagohod, chases Snake around on a motorcycle a little bit, and then when you defeat the Shagohod, he gets out and he starts throwing lightning at you, but he doesn't say Kuwabara, so he just fucking blows himself up and dies. Heavy quotation marks on dies. We'll get to that. Yeah, you forgot about that, right? Because it's super forgettable.
There's a lot.
So he quote unquote dies after electrocuting himself to death, and then you go like, okay, well, we still got to go get the Philosopher's Legacy, and we still got to go get the boss. So Snake goes to confront the boss in this huge field of flowers and such, and the boss is like, hey, so. Instead of just confronting me, there's also an airstrike coming in. What if we had a fist fight in the next 10 minutes before this airstrike comes and kills us both? So basically, yeah, the final boss sequence of this game is you in a CQC fight with the lady who taught you how to do CQC. Here you go, Morgan. Here's your juice. There's her C-section scar shot. There's a better shot of it later, I think, that I have in there. But yeah, essentially, fun little tidbit. Her cesarean scar is vaguely in the shape of a snake. So,
boom.
That's something.
Snake imagery.
Is that something?
Whoa.
For anyone inquiring, a cesarean scar is like 10 inches from your sternum, like to about the top of the mons pubis. It's like right above the vagina on like your waistline. And her cesarean scar is like a giant carving of an S from like above the right nipple over to the top of the clavicle down to the center. Like it's a cesarean scar, and then they also just cut open her chest to give this nice snake imagery.
Which also is like,
yeah, those fucking dogs like, be metal, made it look like a snake.
Like, which like 10 times layers onto this that this was happening during the invasion of the beach of Normandy. This lady just like laid down and had her entire torso ripped open.
Like she opens it up to show Snake, and she's like, "This is what I have done as a mother. I am the mother of my soldiers, of the people." And like Snake doesn't say anything, even though it's not a cesarean scar. It's like she was cut open like a pig.
Yeah, it's a lot. So basically, you fight her, and then she dies, and you kill her. Where am I?
Be more romantic about it. It's such a big scene.
I'm gonna get to it, but before I get to that, I have to clarify that once Naked Snake kills the boss, he gains the title of Big Boss, and he is now known as Big Boss. Whenever I refer to as Naked Snake, I will be referring to him as Big Boss throughout the rest of this. So anyway, back to Snake Eater. So you kill the boss. Before you kill her, she's like, "Here's the Philosopher's Legacy," and also reveals that basically everything that happened in the game was actually sort of like orchestrated by the CIA, and she was basically more or less in like deep cover and had to be killed for the sake of peace between the United States and Russia, as her involvement with Volgin basically led to there being like a lot of tension in the United States and Russia over whether or not a U.S. government agent was involved in the nuking of Soviet Union territory. Mm-hmm. And so basically she has to die so that there can be peace. And she gives Snake the Philosopher's Legacy until Eva fucking steals it so she can pay off her Club Penguin membership account. So Snake is getting away, and he doesn't have the Philosopher's Legacy, but he's getting away. And then Ocelot shows up and also reveals that the whole time he's also been a CIA agent and also the boss's son who was born on Normandy. It was Ocelot. The baby was Ocelot. That mystery's been solved now. We can move past it. We can move past it and on to part 2, Peace Walker.
A good rule of thumb with these games is think of the Russian nesting dolls, and this whole game series is that, but each layer is a psyop. So we're gonna go back to Snake Eater like twice, and you're gonna find out the whole thing was a psyop just from someone else's perspective, and both times it's not gonna matter.
Oh
Yep.
my God. Okay, all right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we get into necessarily the Peace Walker, we have to get into what happens to the two major players in Snake Eater following Snake Eater. So this is where we get into one of the most important debatable subjects in the franchise, which is the will of the boss. So following the boss's death, or not following, basically, yes, around the boss's death, the boss's will was that for there to be a world that is at peace and without borders. And because Zero and Big Boss are stupid idiots, they both wildly, dramatically misinterpreted the will of the boss. And because they both so dearly idolize her, but have no sense of reading comprehension, they both have like violently different interpretations of this meaning. And they both go on to form different groups. Zero forms a group called Cypher, and Big Boss forms. Basically, it goes by many names, but let's just say he. So the Cypher's interpretation, not Cypher, Zero's interpretation of the will of the boss is that it's a world that is like essentially under control, and a world without borders means a world that is a one world government. That's his interpretation of it, and Big Boss's interpretation of it says that a world without borders is a world with no government, basically a libertarian war zone where he can just do war and go be a soldier wherever the heck he wants to be, and he wants to make a paradise for soldiers, and Cypher wants to, not Cypher, Zero. I'm going to make that mistake a lot, full disclosure. And Zero and his group Cypher want to basically control the world as one centralized one world government. So while most of Peace Walker is about Big Boss forming his paradise for soldiers, while this is happening, Zero recruits Eva, who now has the Philosopher's Legacy, as well as Ocelot, who in a cutscene in not Portable Ops, one of the PSP games, basically murders all of the philosophers, and so they take all the Philosopher's Legacy and they use it to fund the creation of Cypher, as well as a project called Les Enfants Terribles, or the Terrible Children. The point of the Terrible Children project is to essentially create a clone of Big Boss, as Big Boss has now sort of taken the reins from the boss as being the world-renowned hero soldier. Zero and Cypher their goal is to recreate that, and they want to recreate the Big Boss. So they use Big Boss's genes, which they get from Eva, and the money which they got from the Philosopher's Legacy to fund this project, and make 3 clones of Big Boss, who are called Solid Snake, Liquid Snake, and Solidus Snake. That's
Solidus is Latin for plasma.
It is really.
Yeah, it sounds like a bullshit thing, but I checked with like one friend of mine that has a biosci degree, which
I actually never knew that.
Basic Latin, and yeah, it's like liquid solid. I'm pretty sure it's not gaseous. I'm pretty sure it's plasma.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been gas snake.
But like
plasma's
the 4th state of matter. Like I guess they could have had gassy snake, but
Big Boss is pretty gassy already. So these are the 3 terrible children. They will come up very prominently later. One of them especially prominently, as he's the protagonist of the series, but we'll get to him later. For now, we have to talk about Peace Walker. What happens to Peace Walker? I don't know. I didn't play it. This is the one, when I said before the podcast that there's one Metal Gear game that I didn't play, Peace Walker is the one that I played. I do have a slide explaining. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to double check. Solidus is the boiling point where it does turn gaseous. It's not plasma. I'm sorry, everyone.
Baker!
I'll get off the
Baker alert.
podcast. I'm canceled.
You got information wrong? How could you?
How could you do this?
Soibois Michael is canceled.
Why did I go to college?
Why did you go to college?
To draw comic books.
So what does happen in Peace Walker is I can't explain the full plot, but I can explain vital information in Peace Walker. And the vital information in Peace Walker is the whole lot of beach homoeroticism.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
This ain't me and the boys, then I don't know what the hell we're doing.
Do you want to hear about the thing that like Peace Walker players actually remember? Not to call Gabe out on this, but there's 2 dating timelines you can do, and one is either you're dating your second in command, which is Miller, or the other one is one where you're like Snake's like 35 at this point and he's dating like a child. There's like these same dating scenarios,
What?
but it's either between this girl named Paz, who's like a key player, and nice snap kick, Morgan. I love when he does that. It's between like a 17-year-old girl who comes to you in regards to like Middle American peace treaties, and she's like 17, and her and Snake date for a bit, or you're with Miller, who's your side guy.
I mean, I haven't played this game, but I would choose Miller. No question.
I would also choose Miller.
Yeah, who wouldn't choose Miller though? Let's be honest.
Who wouldn't choose Miller? It wouldn't matter who the other option was. I would choose Miller. The vital information in Peace Walker is that Big Boss and his second in command, Kaz Miller, they're like, hey, so you want a paradise for soldiers? And Big Boss is like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So they do that, and they recruit a whole bunch of various people who to do this. I don't have all of them. I just have the key players. So there's the aforementioned Paz. This is Pod. Not even so. Yeah, that's a weird one. Moving on. There's also Huey Emmerich. We'll get to him.
Before we get to Huey, as the resident Spanish speaker here, I will say that paz is peace in English, which is important because the game is called Peace Walker.
And that Paz says it every like 6 minutes. I can dig us out of the hole. At the end of the game, you find out that Paz is a double agent and she's like 20-something.
Yeah.
But Snake didn't know that.
Snake didn't know that. The only thing I can say in Snake's defense is that in this game, it's also revealed as canon that he believes Santa Claus is real. So
yeah,
it's also canon that he fights a dragon from Monster Hunter. There's that.
It is
that.
What?
Oh my God! Wait, how do we talk about Snake Eater and not talk about the monkeys? Oh yeah.
He also is part of Ape Escape.
Yeah, he's also part of the Ape Escape universe.
He is a part of the Ape Escape universe.
Is that canonical?
It might as well be. We'll get into what is and isn't canon. There, I have a whole slide for that. But so he greets Huey Emmerich, who's the scientist dude on a wheelchair, and he's like, "Hey, so back in Snake Eater, there was this Metal Gear. You know a thing or two about science stuff." And Huey Emmerich's like, "Yeah, I guess I do." And so they do a whole bunch of Metal Gear stuff, along with this lady named Dr. Strangelove. That's her real name in the game, which is fucking hilarious. She is also his Huey Emmerich's wife in the game. Are they married by this point in the timeline?
No, they just meet in Peace Walker.
They just meet in Peace Walker. They get married later on.
Yep. Around Phantom Pain era is when they get married, and possibly their kids are born.
Yes. We'll get to their kids. Everest, we're in here for it, but don't spoil anything regarding Huey Emmerich to Dean. I will get to that.
All right, I will not.
This sounds like your favorite part of the whole timeline.
It is my favorite part of the whole
good
timeline.
part. It's definitely the favorite. It's definitely my favorite part of the timeline. It's a pretty good part.
So gross.
Along with this, he also recruits. Right, I forgot. I had a whole thing about how he believes Santa Claus is real. Anyway, he also recruits this kid named Chico, because Snake he likes having child soldiers. He's a war criminal after all. Who doesn't like a good war crime?
Yeah.
Speaking of war crimes, Paz turns out to be a double agent and pilot, and and gets into the fucking Hatsune Miku controlled Metal Gear. That's real, by the way. The voice machine in in Metal Gear Zeke is fucking Hatsune Miku. That's.
I remember that. I remember that. That was a good meme.
Oh my god,
it's a great one. Hatsune Miku be canon in the franchise. So they do all this stuff, and then the Zeke gets blown up, and Paz is sort of, more or less, presumed dead, but she's not really dead because we're gonna get a whole bucket of mess right now. Part 3, the Vanta Pain.
Let's go.
I want to keep being residential robot guy. It did seem like Metal Gear Zeke came out of nowhere. However, in Big Boss's like world traveling bullshit for global war, he goes to various communist controlled countries in South America, and apparently they're all working on different Metal Gear. So they find a Metal Gear that is a giant helicopter. They find one that is a like building sized tank, and they find one that's just a ripoff of the Shagohod, and they take all those together, and Huey and Dr. Strangelove make Metal Gear Zeke because Big Boss's military group wants to have their own nuke and their own Metal Gear. So Metal Gear Zeke then becomes like the baseline for Metal Gears in the future.
Okay.
Which is why you have like Metal Gear Rex like 30 years later, and they look very similar.
And Metal Gear Solid Trip is 10 years later, which is somehow more advanced than like any Metal Gear they make for another 30 years until Metal Gear Solid 2.
Okay, so Dean, do you see that like Gundam in the center of the screen?
Yeah.
And you see how the head and the legs are just the legs of the Metal Gear you've probably seen before?
Yeah.
This came out in like 1984. And then they took the pieces of that and made the Metal Gears you've seen in the future.
Yes.
Like in Metal Gear Solid.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say as well, let it be known that this is part 3 of the presentation. However, the game that we're going over is actually the 5th game in the series and the most recent to come out.
Yes.
Wonderful.
This is the Clone Wars TV show of Metal Gear games.
This is the Metal Gear Solid of PowerPoint presentations. But before we get Vanta Pain, we have to get into the events of Ground Zeroes. Now, before we get into Ground Zeroes, I want to say, quick disclaimer, there will be certain events that happen in Ground Zeroes that I'm not going to address in this podcast, because as much as I like cussing and shit on this podcast, this is not a kind of podcast where I want certain topics discussed. We're just gonna zoom past certain things that happen in Ground Zeroes.
You're talking about Snake rescuing Hideo Kojima, right?
No, that's in Phantom Pain.
Is it
not in Ground Zeroes? I thought that was
in Ground Zeroes.
I thought he was like the very last thing you would say.
Everest. I know Ground Zeroes way better than I know myself.
That's unfortunate.
It is a sad thing, but like if I could have found Kojima, I would have found Kojima. Let me double check, and I bet I'm wrong, and I'm gonna have to go commit harikiri.
I thought he was in because I thought he was in Ground Zeroes.
You know, now that we're talking about it, I do think Hideo Kojima is rescued in Ground Zeroes. I think you might be wrong about this.
Michael, oh no.
What the fuck?
Hack fraud alert!
Uh-oh.
Oh man. Okay, I'll see you guys never. I'm leaving. Oh man.
Okay, I didn't mean to shame you, Michael.
No, I felt so bad because I literally hit up Gabe several days before the podcast. I'm like, yo, can I talk about like Kojima in the games and like how Kojima's God and like Kojima has put himself in 3 games and he's like your best character in your army, and I didn't even do my research.
Tisk.
And so now is Everest now the big Gabe?
No, it's still me.
Wait,
I'm Liquid Gabe.
No, he was Liquid Gabe.
Everest is
I can be Naked Gabe.
No, he's solid as Gabe.
I can be Naked Gabe.
Naked Gabe.
No, I'm Naked Gabe. That's how it works. If I'm Big Gabe, I'm also Naked Gabe. Where'd you
Wait,
Everest, you're solid as Gabe.
No, I said Everest was Colonel Wild.
What is happening?
Okay, I'll be Colonel, fine.
I bet all of this still makes sense. What is happening?
Alright, so during the events of Ground Zeroes, he has Snake. So Big Boss is like, hey, so it turns out that Paz is actually being held by like Cypher, led by this guy, Skullface. This guy's real name is Skullface.
Gabe.
Moving on.
Gabe.
He has to go rescue.
Oh no.
Skullface is a Cypher guy, and he has captured Paz following the events of Peace Walker. And Chico sent him to rescue him, and he got captured as well. So the whole Ground Zero's mission is to go in and rescue them. The whole operation is basically it's Big Boss, it's Kazuhira, and it's this guy, the medic, on board the helicopter. We'll get to him. So they rescue Paz and Chico, except it turns out that Paz has a fucking bomb inside of her. So the medic has to spend the most gruesome cutscene I've ever seen in a video game fishing out this bomb that's been basically sewn inside of Paz.
No.
And then while they're on their way back, they find that Paz not only has another bomb inside her, but that mother base, the whole thing that you spent all of Peace Walker building, has been fucking destroyed by Cypher. Then Paz's bomb goes off, and the helicopter crashes, and Big Boss is sent into a coma for a couple of years, a certain amount of time. I can't remember the exact amount of time he's in a coma for. It's long enough.
It's 10 years.
Is it 10? It's 10 years. Okay.
I just played Ground Zeroes like yesterday, and they have in the complete
right
edition they have the trailer. They have the trailer when you finish Ground Zeroes, and then you go on to Phantom Pain in the definitive edition, and the doctor is like, "Yes, I'm sorry to say it
has been 10 years. You're right." So the bomb goes off, the helicopter crashes, and Big Boss is left in a coma for the next, as it has now been made aware to me, the next 10 years. Which leads us to the events of the Phantom Pain.
Oh no! Okay,
yeah, that's an Evangelion reference.
Do I still have Nitro? Yes, I do.
Oh no!
Oh no!
No! What is this? What's just happened?
All right, sidebar. What is he putting in the? What the hell is that?
Oh, that's an emote now. Oh, that's
I made that. That's another story.
Dean,
don't worry about it.
You don't know anything about Evangelion, right?
Nothing.
We'll get to this in the Evangelion episode if we do one, though.
Oh, great.
I love how Gabe was being so incredibly PC about the gross stuff in Ground Zeroes that he flashed this.
Listen, here's the thing. This
is like
shame. Several magnitudes not as bad as what happens in Ground Zero.
It's like halfway there.
I don't think so. I think that it's like Ground Zeroes is like, I don't even think that's being PC. That shit makes me uncomfortable. And I don't get uncomfortable about a lot of stuff.
Understandable.
Fair enough, yeah.
Moving on, though. So, Big Boss wakes up after 10 years in a coma, and he's like, I've been super fucked up, and I'm also voiced by Kiefer Sutherland now, and I don't say as much. And then the hospital gets under attack by a bunch of Cypher assassins, and he gets rescued by this guy, Ishmael, who, like, sort of fishes him out, rescues him, and is like, we're getting the fuck out of here, guy. Psycho Mantis, as a little kid, shows up, and as does this guy, who's a guy on fire. Remember Volgan? How he didn't die? This is Volgan, except now it's fire instead of lightning. For some reason.
Yeah,
he still got lightning.
But did they explain the fire?
He's still got lightning, and they talk about how it's something to do with his metabolism. And so it's like the release of energy is lightning, but now there's also like passive fire on him.
He's just always on fire and can still do lightning.
I actually didn't know that was Volgan. I thought I knew like almost everything about what happens in Phantom Pain as someone who's never played it.
Yeah, I had no idea. Fire is Volgan.
Fire was Volgan. That's nuts.
Gabe didn't show a photo of Volgan's full outfit, but Volgan has these like, it's supposed to look like superconducting like pipe equipment, and they're on his thighs, and you can see it right there that he has those same thigh coverings, as well as all those 50 cal bullets are like sticking up out of his head to make devil horns.
That's sweet.
And then he's got like the shoulder cutoffs, and you can kind of see going up and down his chest are those same like circuitry wires.
And he's also got his trademark military grade thigh highs.
That's what I meant. The thigh highs are like those conductor coverings. Yeah.
Yeah. I call them the military grade thigh highs personally.
Dangerous.
And then following the rescue, Ishmael is like, all right, well, peace, and then Ocelot shows up after a bunch of time AWOL and is like, "Hey, big boss, I'm on your side now. I'm here to fucking help you out. This will be explained later."
This is what Ocelot, which is the guy that goes "Wow" and does the finger things with the white hair. This is what he looks like for the rest of the games. He looks like Lee Van Cleef from a cowboy movie.
He does. It's pretty amazing. He looks pretty spectacular in this game. In this game especially, he's got the fucking drip to a next level.
In 5, he's voiced by Troy Baker.
He is also voiced by Troy Baker.
Just for you, Dean.
Thank you. Nice.
And they go and they rescue Kaz, who has been taken hostage, and he's also lost a bunch of limbs. And he's like, Kaz, by the way, Dean. I know you don't know much about Metal Gear, but I'm sure you do know Kaz's most famous line in gaming history.
Do I?
Michael,
who's gonna say it?
Who's gonna say it?
So, if you remember the scene where Paz has the bomb and then Snake's coming in the helicopter, they touched down on Mother Base, which is where all the military stuff was happening, and they had the Metal Gear Zeke, and Skullface's guys are just shooting people everywhere, and Snake picks up Kaz, and they're flying away in the helicopter, and Kaz is like, they got us. There was no nuclear test. There was no inspection. And he's like, they played us like a damn fiddle. And that's his line.
That is his line.
That is
famous
line of the 20th century.
All right.
I was referring to the other one that Dean definitely knows about, because it's a TikTok sound, which is a "Why are we still here?"
Oh my god!
Oh, is that really from where that really?
Him too.
This is from MGS5. Yeah.
Really? Oh my god!
That's what Kaz says when he looks at when he's looking at his veins and limbs. He's like, "Why are we still here?"
Just to suffer.
That's fucking amazing. I thought it was from some obscure 90s anime.
No.
That's awesome.
It very much is.
So at this point, Metal Gear probably is an obscure 90s anime.
It most definitely
sounds like it.
And they get together and they're like, okay, well, we're gonna rebuild what we lost, and they form. They get Huey. They get Huey back. The nerdy boy from Peace Walker. He's back. He's a little older. He's a little greasier. They get this guy whose name's Code Talker. He's a cool guy. He talks about languages a whole bunch. We'll get to languages. And they form the Diamond Dogs, who are basically, they're the new Mother Base. They're the new Outer Heaven. If you don't know what Outer Heaven is, because I didn't explain it, and I'll get to it later. And they form the Diamond Dogs, and they're like, okay, well, we got the Diamond Dogs, and they start getting together a whole bunch of soldiers, including a dog. Horse.
Yeah.
A robot machine thing that you can walk around in.
And to be based though.
And Dean, we were talking about military conventional wear. He also recruits Quiet.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but there's reason. There's reasons behind it. I swear.
I know there's a reason. But
I swear I'm not horny. I swear.
I swear on my life that the reason was invented after the costumes. We all know that that's how it happened.
It's the same as how Kojima made sure to take Stephanie Justin's character model and give it fat, almost E-sized titties. For that same reason, and it technically does play into that reason, because it's about her surface area.
It's about the story. Basically, what Quiet is a former Cypher assassin who tried to take out Big Boss at the during the hospital stuff. She was also there doing a bunch of stuff, and there are two things very important going on with Quiet. Number one, she is a tree. She absorbs nutrients via photosynthesis. This is the reason why she dresses like this, because she's a tree.
Right. Okay.
I'm literally not joking.
I don't doubt it.
She's not literally a tree, but she is a plant person and absorbs nutrients via the air, and the same way a leaf does. I don't know. That's not photosynthesis, but it's the same way a leaf does. Because this game was made by a lunatic. The other thing,
bless Kojima.
Is that because she worked for, is that not because, but due to the recent events, she has a virus in her. A very important virus in this game. The language virus. So I will explain now what the language virus
Before you get into this,
yes.
If I remember correctly, isn't quiet also like related to the end?
Yep.
I have yes.
Oh yes.
She's related to the end. She's related to the end, and there's like fan theories that she's related to Sniper Wolf, but we'll get into that or not. Who knows?
And then my next question, because again, I never played Phantom Pain, so I don't know. But like, does that make the end a plant person too?
The end is a plant person. That is also his thing. That's why he's lived as long as he has, and it's also
why does the end dress the way that he does?
Because this game was made by a man.
True.
Kojima,
True.
at this point, Kojima, like, he's been how many games has he made? He's like, I can't justify the horny. I just need it.
Fucking amazing answer, Gabe.
I would wish that he just takes the Yoko Taro route and is just like it just tells it how it is when he's asked why he designs characters the way that he does.
I heard a fan theory once that I really liked, that the end is naked. I like that.
Right, you told me about that.
That's also like shrubbery.
Like he's just naked and he's just really hairy. Like if I was naked, I'd look like that, but it would be brown. But because he's a plant guy, it's green hair.
It's like shrubbery. I do like that theory. That's a very good theory. I agree with that. Even.
That's canonical.
That's shrubbery.
Shrubbery.
Now, the language virus is one of the most hotly debated subjects in the Phantom Pain, because number one, it's kind of hard to determine what it is, and number two, it's really poorly explained. Because basically, what the language virus is and its purpose is explained by Skullface in a car drive with Big Boss during an extremely long cutscene where he basically explains it. So,
hey Dean. Mm-hmm. Have you played Skyrim before?
Yeah.
You know that opening? You know that opening when you're in the cart?
Yeah.
What if you were just like halfway through the game, you got in the cart, and they just explained the whole world to you in like a 20-minute cart ride?
20-minute cart ride.
My God.
And then, because there was a song with vocals playing over it, they then just sat in the cart silently for 3.5 minutes, like fake listening to this song.
While all of the Man Who Sold the World played.
No, it was Sins of the Father. Because it's like this incredibly bombastic, another like spy movie theme, but they're just sitting at each other staring in the trunk of a car.
While Sins of the Father plays.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's really poorly explained, but I'm going to try to explain what it is right now. So, language virus, first of all, it's not a virus. It's a parasite. It's a little parasite that it goes inside you and it sort of lives on your vocal cords. And why it's called language virus is because it's sort of activated when you speak a certain language, and certain frequencies go through your vocal cords.
Mm-hmm.
So it's essentially it's a biological weapon that can be activated like automatically without any use on your part, and is also dormant and basically harmless until it activates, which is why Quiet has it, but is basically harmless because she doesn't speak English. If she speaks English, the virus activates, and the parasite is basically it's targeted to English because Skullface wants to eradicate the English language from the world. That's not a joke. That's his actual character motivation.
That's pretty understandable. English is a pretty stupid language.
It's not just that it's stupid. He wants to destroy it because he thinks that if he destroys the English language, he will destroy colonialism.
Okay, no, that's really stupid.
There's this whole thing in Phantom Pain where halfway through they throw colonialism in, because Code Talker, who is that old guy you saw, is Navajo. And then I believe Quiet is also partially Navajo, I think. And so they talk about that through those characters. And then Skullface, you never get like a real backstory for him, but it's implied he's, I believe, from like the Romanian Civil War. And he was like burned alive during like a factory fire.
Right.
Like he got oil all over him and he was burned away, and he talks about how like his village is burned, his language was burned, his family was burned, his like throat and his voice were burned. Uh-huh. And so he wants to do that to those who are impeding. But like, I don't know the Romanian Civil War well, but I don't think it has anything to do with an English speaking country.
Okay.
I don't.
All right.
A little fun fact. about the language virus that is like, this is like deep lore knowledge I'm about to get into, and also won't make any sense to you, Dean, but this is just a little interesting tidbit I discovered on my little research into the language parasite because I wanted to explain what it is. The language parasite was also used as the basis to create foxdie, which is a different biological weapon virus that can be remotely activated, that we'll get into later, because foxdie is very important. So essentially, following this long, 20-minute long cutscene where Skullface explains what the language parasite is and what he wants to do with it, he dies and you kill him. And then the second half of the game happens following the main villain's death. Did I mention the Phantom Pain's a little wacky?
All fucking Kojima games are wacky.
All fucking Kojima games are wacky. So following Skullface's death, and then now I'm going to get the sequence of the events in the second half a little bit wrong, because I am going to do that. Huey Emmerich, the guy who was like, who helped you out, and he helped build all the Metal Gears with you, and he's a scientist guy. It's revealed that he was actually partially, if not fully, responsible for the destruction of Mother Base and all the shit that went down in Ground Zeroes, and also murdered his wife in the last 10 years between Peace Walker and this game. So he gets sent into exile because they're like, well, fuck this guy. We don't want him on our goddamn Mother Base anymore. Get him out of here. And we'll catch up with him later. Quiet in a mission has to speak English to call in Pequod, and then she goes and is like, well, the language virus is now active in me, so I gotta piece the fuck out of here and possibly die, but also possibly not, depending on your theories and beliefs about Sniper Wolf. And that's all I'm going to say on that subject. Then I forgot to put this into the first part, because this sort of happens in the first part. They meet Liquid Snake as he's a young boy, and he's called Eli, and he has this whole, what is that book that they keep referencing?
Lord of the Flies. He's literally got a pig painted on his back, and he's So Phantom Pain takes place across Afghanistan during Russian occupation in the 80s, and then I believe the Congo. And I don't know how they explain it, but like the Les Enfants Terribles kids break out. I think Snake, like Solid Snake, the Snake everyone knows, is safe and he's being trained, and then Liquid Snake makes it, and he's in Africa, and he's got this Lord of the Flies connection of Africa.
I think soldiers. Liquid is the only one who like really escapes, because isn't Solid is also still trained by the Patriots. Okay. That's his whole. Mm-hmm. But Liquid Snake escapes, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a little British kid in the Congo with my little weird army of children." And while he's on, and then he goes to another base, because Big Boss still really likes having child soldiers. He really has hellbent on committing war crimes. So he recruits Liquid Snake and his army of child soldiers. And whilst on board Mother Base on his adventures, Liquid Snake meets up with two people who will be very important in his life going forward. He meets up with Psycho Mantis, and of course Ocelot, who is now known as Shalashaska, but also Revolver Ocelot. That is who that guy is, and we'll get. And that is.
Now you're just throwing facts to confuse Dean.
I'm just throwing facts at Dean to confuse Dean. He meets up with...
He didn't need to know about Ocelot's like 3 other names.
Amazing.
So yeah, he meets up with Ocelot, and he meets up with Psycho Mantis at various different points during this game. But then, you want to talk about throwing information at Dean?
Oh no!
Yes, please.
Let's get to the ending of the Phantom Pain.
Oh no!
Wait! Hold the phone. Hold your rolls. Are we talking about the ending of the Phantom Pain, or are we talking about when the Phantom Pain ends? Or are we talking about the special DVD you get with the deluxe edition that has the end of Phantom Pain on it?
What the fuck did you just say?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm trying to cut this down for you, because there's the ending, and then there's a bunch of other useless information.
Oh my
I'm
God,
getting to the one that I saw when I played the game.
I can give like the. It's called Island of the Flies, and it's like. I'll let Gabe finish.
So essentially, you have been playing as Big Boss for all of the Phantom Pain,
right?
Except you haven't. At the end of Ground Zeroes, when this medic guy. He was on the helicopter with you and Kaz, and he got all fucked up. And so Big Boss was like, I'm going to take this opportunity. So Big Boss dresses up as a bandage guy and he calls himself Ishmael and he gives you a bunch of facial reconstructive surgery to make you look like a face accurate decoy of Big Boss so that you, who are Venom Snake, and a fake Big Boss can run Mother Base while the real Big Boss is off doing a whole bunch of other shit in Zanzibar. The only other character who knows about this is Ocelot, who just knows about all this shit and was there from and was in collusion with Big Boss to basically fuck you from the very beginning. So if you were wondering why on my chart of snakes I had this long section at the bottom of here, mind control decoy, he thinks he's the original, but he finds out, but continues to pose as the original anyway. This is Venom Snake.
I would like to say in justification, Gabe, would you mind if I jumped off from here and I said how the Phantom Pain ends? Because it does play into Metal Gear Solid. Okay. So that's how the video game ends. There was this whole thing where there's 2 chapters in MGS5, and there was a third one that you could supposedly unlock, but it was actually cut from the game, because if you look in like real life news, this was when Hideo Kojima and Konami had a fallout, and that's why there won't be like any more Metal Gear games, and there's been all this kerfuffle ever since.
Right.
So I'll get to the thing with the third chapter and how the game ends. I just wanted to say I do really like this twist, because the Metal Gear games have this whole theme of what makes a legendary soldier, like what makes the notion of the greatest soldier we have in our mind. And Solid Snake was to show that the genetic aspect, where do you need to take the best soldier that's ever lived and then make physical copies of them? Then in other games, they talk about, is it the training? Is it the circumstance? Is it their determination? Is it genetics? Is it modification? Is it robotics? And then in Phantom Pain, because during the 80s, there was a very big like economic turn. I quite like the idea of talking about, could you just have the greatest simply through giving them enough resources? Because this fake snake, Venom Snake, is technically the greatest soldier of all time. He's the one of legend, and he's got this other mother base he's doing aside from the other snake. And he's just been given all this stuff to be the greatest soldier of all time. I think it's an interesting point the game makes. But now to the story, because this is the podcast. So as Gabe said, you find out you're fake snake. And so fake snake needs to go get the kid, because Liquid Snake as a kid, like Gabe said, he hooks up with Ocelot and with
Psycho Mantis
as a kid. And so Psycho Mantis
as a kid.
So Psycho Mantis, as he grows up, becomes a big character in the other Metal Gear games. You'll hear about him in due time. But even as a kid, he's super powerful. So if you remember that big Gundam Metal Gear you saw, that's the new Metal Gear they made post-Seek, and it's called the Sahelanthropus. Initially, it was being made by Cypher, and I believe that Huey Emmerich was helping work on it because he's the Metal Gear making guy. And it's supposed to be like the super Metal Gear, which it is, because it's a Metal Gear, but it's also got like a sword and like these big arms for picking up things. And I think it can fly.
It's super unnecessary because at this point there are no other Metal Gears, so it's like they're just making a Metal Gear that can fight other Metal Gears when none exists.
It's 1984, and this is before like we've made any sort of robotics, and they're already like jumping into like Evangelion territory. But Psycho Mantis and little kid Liquid Snake kidnap the robot. They take the Metal Gear to this island, and because they have the Lord of Flies thing going on with the child soldiers, this is the Island of Flies. So, like I was saying in the real life thing where Kojima breaks off from Konami, this is a special like video you could watch on a special edition of MGS5 DVD you could get. You get this DVD with the game, and it shows the super secret ending. So in the DVD, they show the concept art, the script, and like a bit of gameplay for what they had before the whole thing got scrapped. So Snake makes it to this island. It's a bunch of child soldiers. You have to sneak your way past the child soldiers, and eventually there's a giant battle where Snake and all of his mother base people fight the Sahelanthropus. There's this giant like fight between them all, and they rip it in half, which is why in the future you'll see Metal Gear Rex and it's just the head and the legs, because they ripped a bunch of the body apart. And then that's about it. Liquid Snake gets captured, then he grows up. Solid Snake's being taught somewhere else. That's how 5 ends.
I have a question.
Yes.
I might be completely wrong with this, but I remember reading somewhere, and all this talk of child soldiers got me thinking. But like, does Raiden make an appearance at all in Phantom Pain?
I don't think so.
I felt like Gabe was gonna throw another hoop at Dean by talking about the thing in Snake Eater. You know what I'm talking about, Gabe?
That the boyfriend is Raiden's face model.
There's this thing Kojima liked to do whenever he would release an MGS game by showing one specific scene that has nothing to do with the rest of the game, and it would make fans think something really bizarre about the game.
That's right.
So like in MGS 2, there's Raiden. Before he's a robot, he's just like a soldier, and they call him Snake for the first like hour of the game, but he's wearing a mask.
Right.
So they released that as a trailer. It's like, oh, you're playing as Snake, and Snake's gone on this mission, and like people were making theories about this weird like girly voiced white haired Snake and what he's doing. And then in the game you find out, oh, he's not Snake, he's a different guy.
He's a different guy completely.
In MGS 3, they had this trailer where you're playing as Raiden in the 60s, and people are like, what is this? This is about time travel? But then you find out it's Snake wearing a Raiden mask because this one Russian guy face mask that Snake was wearing looks like a character from 50 years in the future just to fuck with people.
Just to mess with people.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So like Raiden doesn't show up in any game before 2, but there's a little Raiden Easter egg.
There's a little Raiden. There's a little bit of Raiden. There's a little bit of Raiden in there.
I vaguely remember hearing that like you could that Raiden made an appearance in 5, but that must have been wrong information.
Yeah, that was. There's a couple theories in MGS5. Most of them are wrong. I want to say that right now. Venom Snake is Gray Fox. That's wrong. Venom Snake. Yeah, there's Venom. That's a very popular one. That's totally wrong.
Chico is quiet. That's wrong.
That's wrong.
Oh my god, I forgot about Chico's quiet.
That's a weird one for sure. It's wrong.
That's an uncomfortable one to talk about.
So anyway, the reason of Venom Snake's importance, however, is because Venom Snake it exists basically to solve a plot hole in the first game released in the release order, but I guess the fourth game chronologically, Metal Gear. Metal Gear 1, just Metal Gear, no Solid.
We're finally at the first game.
Amazing.
Finally, we are now.
This is like the first game. So this is
Big Boss.
Okay, this is not Solid.
No, this is just regular Metal Gear. No Solid.
What the fuck is happening with any of these images?
These are all related to what happens in this game.
What is Big John?
It's a Big Boss joke.
But what's up with the Gattori with the gun just pointed at you? What?
I don't know.
You'll find out.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, we need to brace ourselves.
I get the patricide one.
You don't need to brace yourself too much because this is going to be a really short thing because basically the Metal Gear games were released for the NES and I didn't play them, so I don't know a ton that happens in them, but like these were the days before Kojima lost his fucking marbles.
I just want to say, just so that you don't tire yourself out, Dean, these are super simple. Like you can watch these games and understand them in like 5 minutes a piece. This is the breather before.
This is the breather.
The difficult stuff. Please relax right now.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I'm gonna take my time with this before we take various psychedelics. Yeah.
Right at the start of the end of MGS1, like in the last like 15 minutes of MGS1, you can start to like prepare yourself, and then when 2 starts, just like put your head between your knees.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's the danger zone. But right now we're in the safe and comfortable zone before. So
for everyone listening, that's
what happens in Metal
too.
Gear is that there are basically now there are basically 2 big bosses, and the 2 big bosses are both forming their own quote unquote paradise for soldiers. So Venom Snake, aka Big Boss, but Venom Snake is the decoy from Phantom Pain. He forms Outer Heaven, and the real Big Boss, who went off to Zanzibar to do a whole bunch of other shit there, he forms Zanzibar Land. And the events of Metal Gear 1 and 2 are basically you play as Solid Snake, and you gotta in the first game you gotta go to Outer Heaven, and you gotta take out Big Boss because he's an evil guy. And then while you're there, you run into this guy named Frank Yeager who falls in love with a ballerina and dies, but doesn't. We'll get to him. And then in Metal Gear 2, Big Boss is just around again, and he's in Zanzibar Land. How is he alive, you might wonder? It's a plot hole, except it isn't now, because there's 2 Big Bosses. That's the whole reason that the Phantom Pain exists.
That's why there is this 200-hour long open world Metal Gear game, is because they just rebooted. They had the first Metal Gear for the NES/MSX. It was like a 5-minute game, and they had the sequel, and there's the same villain. And for anyone asking, why is there the same villain in these 2 NES games? Yeah, you happy.
So he kills Venom Snake, and then he kills Big Boss, but not really. We'll get...
Oh lordy.
We'll get to it.
Oh lordy.
We're done with Metal Gear though, and we're on to Metal Gear Solid 1. Just regular old Metal Gear Solid.
Virginity.
So now, in construction of this PowerPoint presentation, I accidentally left this picture of Vulcan Raven unanimated, so I'm just going to leave him sitting there while I talk.
I thought I'd missed a part of the canon where Vulcan Raven had genuine importance.
No, I just forgot to animate his picture.
Vulcan Raven there. Good luck, Charm.
Why is Vulcan Raven here?
He's just sitting there. So Liquid Snake, following Big Boss's supposed death at the end of Metal Gear 2 in Zanzibar Land, he forms a group called the Sons of Big Boss, and they're like, "Hey, Big Boss is pretty cool. What if we got his corpse?" So now that he's a big adult man, he gets together his gang of buddies. They are Psycho Mantis and Revolver Ocelot, as we knew them before. They're all grown up now. Psycho Mantis is bald, and Revolver Ocelot is completely the same as he was in the last game. He also gets this guy, a Decoy Octopus. Couldn't tell you what his deal is if I tried, to be honest.
Oh my god, I forgot about Decoy Octopus.
Yeah, he does disguises.
He does disguises.
He can take a mask and make it look like somebody else.
He gets this lady, Sniper Wolf, and then he gets this guy, Vulcan Raven, he's a big guy with a gun.
I keep forgetting how much Kojima loves the boob window design.
He
really loves the boob window.
This man has no chill whatsoever. And along with these guys, Liquid also gets a hold of these guys called the Genome Soldiers. One Genome Soldier is a guy named Johnny. We'll get to Johnny.
Yeah!
We'll get to Johnny.
Johnny's like this joke character that you see for 2 minutes, but he's actually one of the cruxes of this entire story.
Johnny is the most important character in the entire Metal Gear Solid canon.
He's earned taking up the full screen right now. He more
than earns this. This is the pinnacle of the franchise. Yeah, this is the Luke Skywalker of the series. This is the Jesus Christ of Nazareth of the Metal Gear Solid.
If Luke Skywalker had Crohn's disease, it would be Johnny Sasaki.
It would be Johnny Sasaki.
Just as a note for anyone who is listening to this on Spotify, first of all, thank you. Secondly, watch it on YouTube.
Please watch us on YouTube. I put so much effort into this PowerPoint. If you listen to Spotify, I'll fucking kill you. So the Sons of Big Boss are like, hey, so we want Big Boss's corpse. And so then the Shadow Moses incident happens on Shadow Moses. If you ever played Smash Bros. Brawl or Smash Bros. Ultimate, that's where Snake's map is. It's Shadow Moses Island. There's a Metal Gear Rex. Sometimes a Ray in the background. The Ray, that's a whole different game though. So Solid Snake, he goes to Shadow Moses Island, and the goal is take out the Sons of Big Boss, stop the Metal Gear, and kill Liquid Snake. That's the other one. But in order to kill Liquid Snake, he gets implanted with this shit called Fox Dye, which is basically a biological weapon that because he and Liquid Snake are both clones of the same genetics, it'll target him. It'll target Liquid Snake, and it'll basically primarily be lethal to Liquid Snake. And so this is the point of the game. It's just get close, give COVID to Liquid Snake. That's the goal. That's his one-armed man. That's his key ambition.
Assert your freedoms, take mask off, run to Superstore, cough at Liquid.
run into Shadow Moses maskless and cough on everyone. That's the plan.
Run past the greeter at Shadow Moses.
So he goes into Shadow Moses, fights some Geno soldiers, fights a helicopter. In Twin Snakes, he does a little spinny flip over missiles. But I'm going to be talking primarily about the original release. Twin Snakes is a lot. And he runs into this guy, the DARPA chief. And then the DARPA chief dies, but then also never existed. He was a liberal myth. And also may or may not have been Decoy Octopus, depending on whether or not you believe the Democrats. Then he meets up with Meryl, and he meets up with Meryl, who's also there, and is my favorite character in the game. God bless. I stand this queen so fucking hard. And so does Snake. Snake sings so much fucking simp juice for Meryl, and as does every boy my age who played Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1. We all ran to our mom's computers and lost our fucking minds on the internet when the internet didn't exist, but I lost my mind on the internet when I played this game for the first time. Because the internet was around at that point in time, weirdly enough, wacky enough how that can exist, how that can happen. He also meets up with Johnny because him and Meryl get arrested, but Johnny is a genome soldier. And then but Johnny ate too much Taco Bell and he starts pooping himself. And he runs out of toilet paper and he's just pooping away. He's having crazy diarrhea, and this gives Snake and Meryl a window to escape. Dean, I'm literally not exaggerating a fucking thing, except for the Taco Bell. This is real.
It is real.
This is a mechanic for how you break out of prison. He's got the poops.
He has the poops, and he's out of toilet paper, so you have a window to escape, and you escape. And you escape, you run into Psycho Mantis. He talks to you about Legend of Zelda. If you played it on the GameCube version, you run into Vulcan Raven, who also drinks a lot of simp juice from Meryl. You run into Revolver Ocelot. His arm also gets cut off. If I'm explaining stuff too fast, you might have blinked and missed it, because this is one of the most important events in the entire Metal Gear canon just now that just happened.
Yeah, if you remember anything from this, remember Johnny Sasaki, and remember that
Ocelot
arm.
gets his hand cut off.
And what could possibly have replaced that arm?
What could possibly
Because it's not what you think.
It's not
conventional. It's not conventional.
Okay.
And following this, he runs into the guy in Shadow Moses who was helping them design the Metal Gear. When you know it, it's an Emmerich. But it's not Huey Emmerich, it's Hal Emmerich. Huey Emmerich's son.
The
boy. And ladies and gentlemen of the InkGuild podcast of the Soibois, you might be wondering, what happened to Huey Emmerich? Well,
you've teased this in every game you've talked about.
Let's get into what
Oh my god.
I was waiting for this.
So, following the events of the Lantipade, Huey Emmerich is exiled, along with his son, Hal, and he meets up with his hot journalist later on. His son is now a grown-up college student, I think.
No. He's like 15 at the most in this story. He was in the early ages of becoming a man. I remember that.
That's something, because he has an affair with Huey Emmerich's new wife, the journalist. And he cucks Huey, leading to Huey becoming a raging alcoholic. At which point he has a little bit one too many drinks, stumbles into the pool, and fucking drowns to death.
Hold on, you forgot one tiny detail with it.
He drowns to death.
Very important detail.
There's a really big one. Are you going to talk about it too?
I honestly, I kind of forgot to talk about Emma at all into, so I might as well talk about Emma now. He's kind of he basically tries to kill himself and take his stepdaughter with him while he's doing it. But
no. Emma was trying to swim and she couldn't, so when Huey was drunk, he jumped in the pool and somehow saved a child from the pool and also drowned.
And also drowned himself.
That's a family pool, and he saved the person but could not save himself somehow.
that is true. That's what happens. But I'd like to think of it as funnier that he just stumbles into a pool and dies.
Are we gonna talk about the fact that are we gonna talk about the fact that Otacon was literally banging what's his name while he was drowning?
Yeah,
yes, Otacon bangs Huey Emmerich's wife while he's drowning to death. This is all canon, real, and actually happened.
And that's the only reason why he didn't save his dad is because he was too busy banging his dad's wife.
That's why.
This isn't something to be like misconstrued. This is literally like Otacon is in the room with Snake talking to him, and Snake asks like Otacon, why does your sister have a fear of water? And Otacon's got to relay this entire like weird Bang Bros plot to him, where his dad died because he was too busy doing incredibly disgusting acts to his stepmother while he could hear the drowning man outside. I'm pretty sure he even says that. I'm pretty sure he says, like, I was aware, but, like, I didn't care about my dad.
He didn't care because he was too busy having wicked hot slash.
And if there's one thing that, like, the Snake bloodline really can do, they are stone cold bastards. Thank you for putting your head between your legs, Dean. I told you to prepare. If there's one thing that the Snake bloodline does pass on, it's that they just don't give a fuck about these stories. Snake doesn't say anything to Otacon after.
No. Shit. So back to the Shadow Moses incident.
Holy!
So following this, there's a guy named Gray Fox.
I think I need a minute.
You need a minute? That's fair.
I can promise you, Dean, that is one of the least important things in this entire series.
Oh my god!
Okay,
all right, just keep going.
It's very important to me, though. It was
That story is to justify why a side character is afraid of water.
And yeah, because you have to go in the most elaborate way possible.
I love the fucking screen going to black. What happened?
What happened to you? All right.
Okay.
So, Dean, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. So the Shadow Moses incident following Snake meeting with Otacon, he meets up with Gray Fox, who's a cyborg, and Gray Fox turns out to actually be Frank Yeager from the original Metal Gear games, who is not dead. He's actually alive. He's a cyborg. He's not with the Sons of Big Boss or the Genome Soldiers. He's basically here completely independently. He's just a third party who's just here to fuck with shit and stab everyone because he kind of hates everyone who was involved in this whole affair. Following this, he kills Sniper Wolf, and Otacon has a big piss about it because he thought he was also drinking some gamer simp juice for Sniper Wolf. And he says the corniest line in the entire game. What can love bloom even on a battlefield? Snake, do you think love can bloom even on a battlefield? And then finally, Snake meets up with Liquid Snake, who reveals that. But I forgot to mention this. And I forgot to put a piece. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. I don't know if you noticed, Dean, but we started calling Hal Emmerich Otacon. And this is the name he decides to take.
Yes, I forgot to explain that. Yes.
This is the name he takes after meeting Solid Snake and deciding to help him. And he decides to call himself Otacon because it's short for Otaku Convention.
Because it's just like his Japanese anime. Oh.
It's just like my Japanese anime.
Everyone here knows that, like, that. I'll wait till Dean comes back, but like everyone knows that's the reason
There's
that
no
we have
fucking
Zone
way. Are you
Genders,
actually
right?
serious? Wait.
I'm actually not fucking with you. The actual canon line is, I'm Otacon. It's short for Otaku Convention.
I fucking hate it here.
I also hate
like Japanese animes, Dean.
Dean, if you want to hate like even more, keep in mind the fact that not only that, but also Otacon has the most canon sex in the franchise.
Otacon fucks more than anyone in this like Discord.
That's amazing.
Okay. Have you ever heard that joke? Have you heard that joke line? My Japanese animes. You know, like people just used to say that, like my Japanese animes.
Animes.
That came from him talking about where his name came from.
Christ.
Because that's what he says.
Okay, all right, okay.
He sees the cyborg ninja and he's like, it's just like my Japanese animes. And pees himself.
Oh
yeah, he pees himself too. Yeah, that's like the first thing he does when you meet him is he like pisses himself.
He pisses himself.
And then you look at him, it's like, this is the guy who's had the most pussy out of anyone in the series.
Otacon knows something that no one else knows.
No, I just like to think that Otacon has like a 17-inch long. He's just packing and everyone's horny for it.
And he codes with it.
Jesus Christ. So I forgot to include a slide for this, but basically Cos Miller from Phantom Pain and Peace Walker has been sort of like in Snake's ear for all of Metal Gear Solid 1, except right near the end it's revealed that it's not actually Cos Miller, because Cos Miller is fucking dead and Liquid Snake has been posing as him for pretty much the entire game. So you fight with Liquid Snake, Gray Fox fucking dies, and Liquid Snake has a whole rant about how Foxeye can't actually affect him because he got all the recessive genes. Essentially, the explanation for this is that when Big Boss was cloned, Solid Snake was made using the dominant genes, while Liquid Snake was made using the recessive genes. And Liquid Snake's whole motivation is that he wants to overcome his quote unquote inferior genes and become the man that Solid Snake is, because Solid Snake has become this legendary hero now after the events of Metal Gear 1 and 2. And Liquid Snake is like, this is unfair. I've been fucked up. I wanna be a hero. Except immediately following this, he fucking dies, and it's revealed that he did actually have the dominant genes the whole time. And it was Solid Snake who got the recessive genes, because genes don't actually matter a whole bunch. So and then depending on what you did in the game, you and Meryl or you and Otacon take a skidoo out of there. I mean, the canon ending is that you and Meryl you get on a snowmobile and just drive the fuck out of Shadow Moses Island, and the game is over. Except it's not over.
The Otacon ending's really cute.
The Otacon ending is really cute, but it involves Meryl dying, so that's not.
Yeah, I know.
Not worth it. It's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to me, bro.
That's fair.
And so things all seem okay, except in the post-credit scene, Revolver Ocelot gets on a Discord call with the President of the United States, George Sears, right? That's his name?
I want to say George Soros, but I'm pretty sure it's George Sears.
It's Sears.
George Soros is a QAnon thing.
He gets on a call with George Sears, who is also solid as Snake, the third Snake clone, who was made using both the recessive and dominant genes. George Sears. He gets on a call with him, and he's like, Mr. President, everything went according to plan. And George is like, cool, bro. Come over. I'm paraphrasing ever so slightly. But this leads to... when is President... Okay, here we go.
Okay, Dean.
Sons of Liberty.
Dean, get ready.
No. Oh, get ready.
Dean, if you have any pharmaceuticals or perhaps intoxicants nearby, I would recommend them. I would recommend them now. This is gonna be a doozy.
Okay, you thought everything else was like wacky. This is batshit insanity.
This is batshit insanity.
Okay. All right.
This is intentionally too. That's the problem. Like
that's the thing.
Everything you see on this page is relevant because it is like 2001. It is like The Matrix. It is like Blade Runner.
It's just MK Ultra.
It's just like my Japanese animes.
It is Twitter. It's literally Twitter. We'll get to that.
Oh God. Okay. All right. I guess I and the rest of our audience is ready.
You're ready. Okay. So, white screen. Yes, this was the point in time following the Metal Gear games when Hideo Kojima went from just a normal, ordinary developer making fun games to a fucking lunatic doing various drugs and increasing the insanity of this game's narrative at roughly the same rate as Venezuelan inflation. So,
that's a good way of describing it.
Starting off the Metal Gear Solid 2 is the tanker incident. I have like so many more slides explaining just the tanker incident than I do most of the other games.
Oh no.
That's
So-
fair.
That is fair.
So the tanker incident, following the events of Metal Gear Solid 1, Snake and Otacon form a group called Philanthropy. And their whole thing is they're like, hey, Metal Gears kind of suck. There should probably not be giant Gundams with nuclear missiles strapped to them. That sounds like a bad idea.
Mhm.
We should do something to stop it. So they go onto this boat because they're like, hey, these military guys are making a Metal Gear. This US government is making a Metal Gear on this tanker. Except, knock, knock, it's fucking Russia. They're here to get the Metal Gear. They're here led by this guy, Grigory
Kurlugovich.
He's led by General Kurlugovich, and there's this guy on board the tanker, Donald something or other. This guy, there's the Metal Gear Ray that's on the tanker. This is the new super advanced prototype Metal Gear. This guy has it. This guy wants it, and his daughter is also there.
This is when the robots actually start to like get off the fucking rail.
This is when the
Sahelanthropus is goofy, but you can still see the pistons. We are going to start moving into like surrealist
Mecha.
robot design.
We're going into Mecha. We're going into super robot.
We're going into super robot mecha. That's the best comparison.
Okay.
So and Revolver Ocelot is also there, and he's seemingly working with Kurlugovich to get the Metal Gear. And then they kill this guy. He's fucking dead. And then Ocelot is like, hey, guess what? Fuck you, Russians. I'm actually taking the Metal Gear for myself. It's for the Patriots or some such shit. He's also dead. And then now you might be wondering why, if this is a Revolver Ocelot in Metal Gear Solid 2, which follows Metal Gear Solid 1, why does he have both arms? You might be wondering that. And Snake was wondering that as well during these events. So I'm about to explain it right now. Following the events of Metal Gear Solid 1, following the death of Liquid Snake, the Revolver Ocelot was like, well, hey, you know what? There's this like free hand here on Liquid Snake that no one's using. So what if I just sawed off Liquid Snake's corpse hand and just shoved it onto my body?
That's not the crazy part.
That's not even the crazy part.
That's not the crazy part at all.
Grafting's understandable. Get to the crazy part.
I want to let that one sit with you before I explain the really crazy part. The really crazy part is that this isn't technically Ocelot, because when he grafted Liquid Snake's unused corpse hand onto him, Liquid Snake's ghost took over Ocelot's body and fucking possessed him, turning him into Liquid Ocelot, who is Ocelot's body with Liquid Snake's ghost hypnosis brain inside of him.
If it helps, Dean, that's not true. So
we'll get to that.
We'll get to it like an hour from now, but that's not true.
That's not.
It's a psyop.
It's another psyop.
All right.
So Ocelot, the tanker gets blown up, the Metal Gear gets away, and Snake is presumed dead as he gets fucked off into the New York Ocean. So then we get to the big shell incident where we meet this guy, Raiden, who is also on the chart of snakes. And now, members of he's not Snake.
Boy Raiden.
Not Snake at all. Not a snake. And members of the Soibois of the InkGuild podcast, you might be wondering, if this Raiden fella isn't even a snake at all, then what the fuck is he doing on the chart of snakes? That's a very good question. That's a great question, even. Am I going to answer it? I don't know. I'm a busy guy. I've got fucking OnlyFans accounts to subscribe to. I've got shit to do. I've got places to be. We're fucking 3 hours into this episode already. You think I got time to explain this shit?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
So Raiden is called Snake because that's his nickname. That's his code name at the start of the Big Shell incident. That's the code name they give him. So there you go.
Calls him Saucy Jack.
There's your explanation. We'll get into Saucy Jack. There's your explanation right there. Hope you're happy with it, because I'm not elaborating. So Raiden has to go on the Big Shell incident, on the Big Shell, because the Big Shell has been taken over by this guy, Solidus Snake, the former U.S. president, who's now a bad guy, and he leads a group called the Sons of Liberty. And this girl, Fortune, who is the daughter of the general from the beginning, she has luck powers, I guess.
Yes.
There's also Vamp, who's a vampire. He's just a vampire.
He's a vampire. That's his
Lamar. Yeah, that's his powers.
That's his powers. He's a vampire.
He's a vampire. He's just a vampire.
Vamp has
you can
two
tell
powers.
That he's a vampire.
He's a vampire.
You go, Everest.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say you can tell he's a vampire due to his name being Vamp.
Yes.
Thank you.
Which is short
Thank
for
you,
vampire.
Everest.
Fun gamer facts. There's a clue that he's a vampire and his name Vamp, which is short for vampire.
Put that in the strategy guide.
Follow for more gamer trivia.
Vamp's got 2 powers. Everyone's forgetting the second one. First one, of course, being a vampire, and the second one being he is just drop dead sexy.
He is very sexy.
I mean, yeah, look at him.
Vampire, yeah.
Look at this dude.
Wait till we get to 4, Dean. Oh my gosh, you will not be able to handle this boy.
Oh,
But and then we got Fat Man. This guy's name is Fat Man, and he rides around on roller skates. Anyway.
Wait. Are you not gonna bring up how he could skateboard on the big shell?
He skateboards on the big shell, and his name is Fat Man. I have nothing more to say on this man, to be honest.
That is an important thematic callback. Metal Gear is about nuclear disarmament, and Fat Man is the name of the nuke dropped on Hiroshima, and he's a fat man with bombs.
He is a fat man with bombs, and he rides around on roller skates. Similar to the people who dropped bombs in Hiroshima. They were all wearing roller skates during that incident.
Yeah, they were all drinking wine.
And they're all jamming out that Tony Hawk Pro Skater song.
They were all doing that. So Raiden goes on the big shell and he meets up with this guy who, now you might be thinking, this guy looks an awful lot like Snake, but he's not. He's not Snake at all. He's a guy named Iroquois Pliskin, who's also voiced by David Hayter. He's definitely not Snake at all. Regardless of all this business about him not being Snake, I am going to add him onto the chart of Snake. just relevantly, don't pay any attention to that.
Don't think about it.
Okay.
Just don't worry about it. So Raiden has to go on the big shell, and he has to go, and his girlfriend Rose is on the phone, and they talk about when they went to go see King Kong, and they have a big kerfuffle about King Kong because King Kong is like the favorite movie, and I like Rose.
Gabe, you forgot to mention there's a little detail. So you know how he's not Snake, right?
Yes.
In Escape from New York, the guy who Solid Snake is based off of, who goes to rescue the president's daughter, is named Snake Plissken.
He is.
So for the people who are watching, you might think, oh, that's Snake because it's Iroquois Pliskin.
You might think that, but you'd be wrong. It's not Snake at all.
You'd be wrong.
Absolutely.
You'd be totally
Absolutely
wrong.
not Snake.
Absolutely.
So he meets up with this thing that looks like Gray Fox, but it's actually Olga Gerlugovich, the daughter of the Russian guy, the Russian general from the start of the game. And then Solidus, there's a whole kerfuffle because Solidus was actually before he was the president of the United States, he was actually a soldier general leader guy, and while Raiden was a child soldier, he grew up basically knowing Solidus. So while he's doing this mission, he has an intimate history with Solidus Snake as this sort of fucked up father figure for him. Basically, as things are revealed, it is revealed that there is a thing involved with the big shell called Arsenal Gear. Arsenal Gear is a giant nuclear armed spaceship with an AI on board it, and the AI, which is so because of the fact that Solidus is basically a product of the Patriots, and Arsenal Gear, as he reveals, was made by the Patriots.
Have you explained who the Patriots
we talked about
are to Dean yet?
I will explain what the Patriots are right now. So basically, Cypher, who was the bad guys in Vantapane, they eventually became the Patriots. But as many of their members died, they were like, well, I know a better way to do this. What if we made an AI? What if we made several AIs that basically represented the ideology of the Patriots, and then that becomes the Patriots. So the Patriots are basically a bunch of AIs now. All the members of Cypher are dead, and now there's just the Patriots, who are a bunch of AIs who want to basically control the world. And now, if any of this business is sounding familiar to you, a hero guy called Snake has to go onto a military base to stop a scrappy-doo group of bad guys who have taken it over, and there's Metal Gear involved. And it's because it is supposed to be similar, because as Solidus reveals, under the observation of the Patriots, everything that has happened that I've explained just now has been a simulation orchestrated by the Patriots to recreate the events of Metal Gear Solid 1.
What?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, no, you don't get to think about it. You don't get to think about it.
I'm going to explain it right now. So the Patriots, essentially, their whole thing is that they want to control the world, and they want to control how. And their decision is they can't just take over the world with force, because that would be stupid.
Uh-huh.
People would resist. So what they are going to do is they're going to take over the world through control, and that's that. So the colonel that you've been talking to over the phone, he's actually the George Washington AI. That's what it's called, by the way. It's called the George Washington AI. It's referred to as the GW, but it's short for George Washington. So you've been talking to AI George Washington, who is the representative of the Patriots, who basically. So the Leon Terribles project was created by Cypher, who are now the Patriots, and Leon Terrible, their whole thing. Michael explained this earlier, so I'm just going to skim over it. Their whole thing was they want to recreate the big boss, because Big Boss was the big hero of the time, and they wanted to recreate it so they can have a big hero who is theirs, who they control. And they created Leon Terribles, but as it turned out, it didn't work, because the two big products of Leon Terribles were Liquid Snake and Solid Snake. And Liquid Snake went AWOL, and Solid Snake has now formed Philanthropy. So it turns out maybe genetics aren't actually the component that they need, and maybe genetics don't create a soldier the way that they think they do. So maybe they think, well, maybe it's not genetics but experience. So they need to capture the experience of Solid Snake to create a new soldier who is now Raiden. So essentially the events of Metal Gear Solid 2 are orchestrated by the Patriots as a simulation to recreate the events of Metal Gear Solid 1, to essentially recreate Raiden as a soldier with the status of Solid Snake. You with me still?
Hey, Dean.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
To try and gleam over this a bit more clearly, do you remember when I was ranting before and I was talking about how Metal Gear games are a lot about what makes the perfect soldier and how to make a perfect soldier?
Yeah.
In the first Metal Gear Solid, they have the big revelation that Snake's a clone, and they're talking about genetics and about passing on like real physical traits to others, which is why there's this big obsession with like Liquid and Solid Snake versus recessive versus dominant genes.
Right.
For passing those things on. Metal Gear Solid 2 is all about memes and memetics, but not in like the new age, like haha funny cat picture way, like the old sociology style, like passing on cultural items and concepts to people you teach.
Mm-hmm.
And so Solid Snake grows up as a soldier and he lives a very similar life to Big Boss, but Raiden goes through this simulation experience which is supposed to parallel Solid Snake, which would then be a parallel of Big Boss, and they're trying to see if they can make this person who is not physically Snake in any way mentally just like Snake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
And then with the whole thing with that giant black blob, he's talking about the giant like super AI. It's talking about a large scale memetic transferring.
Yes.
I'm kind of surprised, Gabe, you didn't talk about like the crazy shit that goes on when Ryan gets. Okay, you're gonna talk about it.
I'm gonna talk about it.
Okay, they basically, with the Arsenal gear, they talk about like large scale memetic stuff. Think of the Stop the Steal campaign for the U.S. presidential election, and this game was talking about that same concept of like a truth bubble and like getting large swaths of people to believe fake news in like, what was this game, like
2001. So essentially the Patriots whole thing is that they want to use, I don't know if they ever say social media in the game, because I don't think social media really existed at the time, but essentially they want to use like the power of the internet and the power of basically social memes to, as they put it, not censor content but quote unquote create context. And they want to basically herd people into groups that they can control, and into various social groups that they can control. There's a whole monologue that the GWAI has on this. I didn't put it in this thing because I felt it would be a bit obnoxious to like read the entire monologue out, but I would recommend you go and read it, because reading this monologue from this game in 2001 is one of the most like mortifyingly prophetic things that I've ever read in any like pre-internet media.
If you know when
It's crazy.
If you know in Revenge of the Sith, when the Emperor tells Anakin how he's been playing both sides, that part in MGS2 feels like that for the real world.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's actually like horrifying reading Hideo Kojima essentially predict how social media and how people will behave in social media and how so essentially yes. Yeah, so what is the next? Yeah, so here we go. I put it in. So our purpose is not to control content, but to create context. So that's just it's a whole can of worms. It's a whole can of worms right there. But essentially, Solid as Snake smashes the Arsenal gear into New York City.
Gabe, you can't show that.
I can't show that. Yeah, that's
you can't
right.
show that because of 9/11.
So fun fact about this game: there was a whole thing where this game came out. This game was in development pre 9/11, but it came out just shortly after 9/11. So there was a whole bunch of shit that had to be scrapped from the game because they were like, yeah, we obviously can't show a giant spaceship ramming through New York City in a game coming out right off the heels of 9/11. That would be a bad look. But this is what happened in the game.
Wow. Holy shit. Okay.
It's not shown, but it's implied.
It's not shown. And so essentially what you have is Solidus who's probably he's this character who's basically he wants to destroy the Patriots because the Patriots are they've caused him a lifetime of torment through the Land Font Terribles project and through his life at war. And he wants to destroy them, but his process of destroying them will involve millions of more deaths, like the ones that he has just caused in New York. So Raiden is like, hey, that kind of sucks. So they have a sword fight, and at which point Raiden kills Solidus, and he reunites with Rose, but shit is not over yet because the Patriots are still around, and who's also still around is Liquid Ocelot, doing a whole bunch of shit. So, part 7.
I just realized something with I just realized something with Raiden. Wouldn't it be crazy if there was a U.S. president and then he was murdered, and then like 15 years later you have another president coming up to term and he gets murdered by the same man in like the same context via a sword fight?
Oh my god.
We'll get to that.
I love all these images you have for these like slides, for the chapter slides. I love that you have the fucking Daigo pair in the top left, and that actually makes so much sense.
I like the Matt Damon turning into an old man one.
That was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Ninja Gaiden, Funky Kong.
Yeah. Okay. You thought all that was crazy? Just wait till Guns of the Patriots.
Oh,
Dean, we're gonna have to take you slow through this because you barely understood the other games.
Yeah,
This.
Are you remembering?
That's notorious for having, what is it, a 1 hour cutscene?
1 hour.
It's a 1 hour cutscene.
That is the cutscene that made me stop playing the game.
There's a 1 hour, 8 minute cutscene.
Oh my god.
Are you remembering Johnny, Dean? Are you remembering Johnny? Keep him in your head.
I'm remembering Johnny.
Don't forget about Johnny. So, in Guns of the Patriots, you play as Solid Snake, who now has dementia, and he's now an old man. He's now Old Snake. And you might think, well, this is still Solid Snake, right? This is still the same character. So there's no need for a boom, charge snakes. Get a good look at it. Last time we're going to see this frame. But essentially, why Snake is Old Snake is actually it not that much time has passed between Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 4, but because Solid Snake is a clone, he has advanced aging. So he's kind of like an old man now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is like, I think it's like 12 years later.
Yeah.
Because MGS2 is like 2002, and then this is this is 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's only like 8 years, but he looks like it's been 30 years.
He's like a 30-year-old man, right? He's like 30s or 40s in this game, but he's like a curmudgeon old man now, because of the clone. So he's old, and Liquid is still old, but that's just because Ocelot's an old body. He's in an old body, and he's working with the Patriots, and he's got this new gang, called the Beauty and the Beast Squad. Now, I want to clarify something. When I did this PowerPoint presentation, I had a whole thing where I was going to explain each of the Beauty and the Beast Squad name by name.
No.
But I'm going to be honest with you. In the process, in the time between when I started this presentation and now, I've forgotten all of their names.
I could. Teacher.
Yes.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I will machine gun this as hard as I can, and this will also be a preview if I ever get to do the history of JoJo, because this is a lot of useless information that doesn't lead anywhere, because these characters suck.
These characters are garbage.
Dean, you remember how I told you to just wipe these characters from your mind?
Yeah.
This is a collection of all of them. So think if you were wiping food off the counter and then you kept putting that food on another counter and then you just swipe all that food off. This is what these characters are. So there's 4 of them. Can you go back a few slides, Gabe, and show the cool robots instead? Sweet,
Yeah.
that's so much better. So they are supposed to represent a culmination of all of the soldiers that have had an influence on Snake. And in that, they all have elements of the prior ones. So I can go through them all really quick. Let me do that. So the coolest one, which is my favorite, is you see the one that looks like a DARPA robot dog in the back?
Yeah.
They kind of blend together, but there's that one that clearly has like a dog figure to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that is Crying Wolf. Crying Wolf has the emotional element of, oh, did I get it right on the first one? That is Crying. That's Raven.
So.
It's Raven.
That's Raven. That's Raven.
Because Crying Wolf's in the cold.
One that.
Then the bottom left, that's Crying Wolf.
The one that's literally crying.
So Crying Wolf is crying.
Bottom left
She's
is Crying
sad.
Wolf.
She's based on the Sorrow from MGS3 because he's the crying ghost man. Sniper Wolf is the enemy from MGS1, and you actually fight in the same area. And she has a sniper rifle, and she plays like Sniper Wolf's battle. And then Fortune, who's the lady who can't get shot in MGS2, has a railgun.
Mm-hmm.
So Sniper Wolf has a railgun. Back to the robots, please. There's that octopus lady, which is interesting just in my own head because I was watching a Vsauce video and they made those tentacles, and those are like the least practical piece of robotics. So the rest of these are tangible, but those robots' tentacle arms will not be happening. So Laughing Octopus, emotion is the joy. Fighting style is Gray Fox, because you don't fight Laughing Octopus, or you don't fight Decoy Octopus in MGS1. He's just the guy who has the heart attack and dies.
Yeah.
He's just supposed to look like the DARPA guy. And then she has the weapons of Fat Man from MGS2 because she has bombs, which is all right. And she laughs a lot. And then there's Raging Raven, which I think is the coolest, is that big bird. And so she's angry like the Fury in MGS3, and she kind of fights like the Fury because the Fury is the spaceship guy, or the astronaut guy that flies around. She fights similar to the helicopter in MGS1, and she has some sort of weapon that someone from MGS2 has as well. Can anyone else help me out here? Who are the characters in Dead Cell again?
Oh fuck.
Vamp.
She's not Vamp. Vamp is supposed to be the flying one.
Yeah.
So there's Fat Man, there's Vamp, there's Fortune. Was there anyone else?
I mean, there's Solidus. I thought that's why I thought.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought it was just those 4.
I thought Octopus used tentacles like Solidus does.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. So
can
Raging Raven has the bombs of Fat Man, and then Laughing Octopus has the tentacles of Solidus.
Okay.
And then the Screaming Mantis has the emotion of, I believe, the pain.
Yeah.
Or
Screaming.
the fear. Could be either.
Could be either.
And then I'm so impressed at how stupid this puzzle is, and I can remember 60% of it. She's clearly inspired by and fights similar to Psycho Mantis from MGS1.
There's even a bit of a cameo from Psycho Mantis in her boss fight with her little metal suit that she's got.
Her robot arms also have little puppets of the Sorrow because he's a ghost, and then Psycho Mantis on each arm.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's got knives like Vamp. So they're just supposed to be these giant puzzles of like each Metal Gear boss you fought, but they culminate in characters you don't give a shit about. Nadine, take everything I just said and throw in the trash.
Throw it in the trash because none of these characters are worthless, and you beat them using sexy photo shoot boss fights.
But keep Johnny in your head. Keep Johnny in your head.
What?
No, we're not elaborating.
I'm not elaborating. You beat them using sexy photo shoot boss fights. That's all you need to know. I thought you'd like that one.
Very based.
Then so while this is all happening, Otacon is back again. He's back and he's fucking even more. Mero shows up with her new boyfriend. Much to my chagrin, so guess who her boyfriend is? It's this guy named Akiba. Who you might think, oh, this is Akiba. He's just a random guy. He's the guy who shits his pants in Metal Gear Solid 1.
Oh my god.
And he shits his pants in this game too.
And it's one of my favorite scenes. It's one of my favorite scenes in MGS4.
He poops himself so much.
So much.
I can really appreciate, Gabe, how you're trying to rewrite this canon by saying that Meryl and Johnny had any sort of relationship. You know they don't. You're just trying to make it sound natural for how the game ends.
I'm trying to make it sound natural for how the game ends when they get married.
when they're in a shootout, and Meryl just hates it that she's gonna die next to this man she never liked in the first place. And then he's like, "Hey, do you want to get married after this?"
And she's like, "Yeah, sure."
And she finds out he's anti-vax too.
Oh,
still marries him. Johnny saves the world by being anti-vax.
So I skimmed over like 23 hours of plot here to get to the Return of Shadow Moses. But Eva shows up, and then she dies. And Snake is like, Ocelot he's going to Shadow Moses. He's gonna get the Metal Gears, and he has to go to Shadow Moses. And he fights with Ocelot in a Metal Gear Ray. However, there's an important element that I forgot to talk. Hang on, I'm missing stuff. I'm out of order here. So he fights with Ocelot inside the on Shadow Moses, and Ocelot reveals that there is a new Arsenal gear called Outer Haven. Don't confuse this with Outer Heaven. It's a completely different place.
Oh, great!
Got a photo.
By the way,
they're both completely different.
So our Outer Haven is a modified Arsenal gear, which is the thing from Metal Gear Solid 2, and it also has. And there's also this going on. There's this incredible shot.
It was so based. I forgot about this.
Picture
what is that?
Picture a submarine the size of a small city, and if you wanted the submarine to look a little bit cooler and be a little bit more functional, you just put Mount Rushmore on it. But it's not Rushmore of anyone relevant. It's like a few of your enemies and then one of your coworkers.
And then you.
Yeah, it's you, like your postman, a friend who's okay with you, and then someone you just don't like at your work, and that's how relevant these characters are.
It's you, your enemy, some guy you knew, and your dad.
It's you, the girl you like, her ex, and her father, and that's Mount Rushmore in the Metal Gear universe.
Very important.
Wow, we're bringing back an old meme. Jesus.
I forgot to explain this in the presentation, and I forgot to explain it now. I forgot to explain Raiden in chronology, so I'm doing it now, I guess. So, Raiden shows up about halfway through this game, and he's a cyborg now. And then he dies. Moving on.
That does happen.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So
are we going to go over how he became a cyborg, or are we just going to leave it at
You're
that?
handicapping yourself bad for Revengeance, Gabe.
I was to say.
There's a kid. There's his wife cheating on him. There's the psyop based around that.
We'll get to all that.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So Solid Snake and Liquid Ocelot, they fight on top of Outer Haven. And Liquid Ocelot dies, but not before number one, Revolver Ocelot taking over his body and butt fucking all of the Patriots with the whole some bullshit happens in the end of this game with the Patriots. The Patriots are dead. That's the gist of it that I got when I played this game.
Right.
The Patriots are dead because Revolver Ocelot took back control and was like, "Hey, this is fucked up. Let's not do this," and blew them all up, and then died because He died. There's something to do with Fox Eye.
No, he beat him up. Oh yeah, he died of Fox Die. I was gonna say beat him up, but no.
And now we get to the end of Metal Gear. So this is a very long cutscene, but I'm going to condense it into just the stuff that matters. For starters, Raiden shows up in a hospital. He's alive actually. He didn't die. And then Solid Snake goes to a graveyard to like give his condolences to I can't remember if it's the boss's grave or Big Boss's grave that he goes to visit.
It's the boss's grave because Big Boss's body is still out there somewhere.
It's out there somewhere. In fact, you could say it's right here in the graveyard.
Right behind him.
Also, it's right behind him because Big Boss never died either. He's alive also. He was super fucked up after the end of Metal Gear 2, but following the deaths of Solid Snake and Liquid Snake, they used the nanomachines in their bodies and as well as their tissue to recreate Big Boss. So he's alive. He's alive and he's fine.
So you go.
Sorry, go ahead.
For quick clarification, why it matters that there was no Big Boss grave, because that always threw me through such a bad loop. The like super AI that the Patriots are using to control like virtual space. The keys to that AI are Big Boss's genetic code. So the body that everyone's fighting over in this game is actually Solid Snake's body after he gets killed.
That's right.
But they're clones, so they have the same genetic makeup.
Yeah, and they're identical clones.
But that's why they never buried Big Boss, because you can't leave that DNA lying around.
You can't leave that DNA lying around. And also, Big Boss is alive.
Also, he's alive.
Hooray.
He shows up and he brings Zero there. He's alive too. And he was never really dead the entire time. He was totally fine, just being an old man who is in a vegetative state. And then while they're in this graveyard, Big Boss unplugs his life support and kills him. And then immediately following this, Big Boss is like, this is Solid Snake. You're go live your life. And then he reveals some shit about Revolver Ocelot. Because Revolver Ocelot was never Liquid Ocelot. That was fake. He MK Ultra'd himself into believing that he was Liquid Ocelot, that he was Liquid Snake inside of Revolver Ocelot's body. But he was Revolver Ocelot the entire time. The whole intention of this being that this was a ploy created by Big Boss and Revolver Ocelot to fuck with the Patriots and get in them. They needed the Patriots to truly believe that Revolver Ocelot wasn't around anymore. So they were like, he needs to MK Ultra himself into thinking that he's Liquid Snake. But this was fake. It was a psyop. It never happened.
Why does Dean look so surprised? I told him it's not real.
And then Liquid, so Liquid Ocelot, not a thing, never existed. And then Big Boss died.
No.
And he dies for real this time. And Solid Snake is like, all right, well, I can go live my life now. And the series is over. But it's not over yet. We got one more game to talk about.
It's never over.
It's never over.
I know it has no relevance to the plot, but I'm sad you didn't mention the fact that Snake and Otacon basically like raise a daughter between the missions of the game.
there is that going on. Yes, there is
fucking what?
Yeah, they raise a daughter named Sunny, who is the daughter of Olga Gerlukovich from the second game.
Yeah, so like the lady who's like the cyborg ninja for MGS2, like the cyborg ninja that helps Raiden, she is working with the Patriots because they have her daughter. And then at some point, Snake and Otacon get her daughter back and then raise her on this like mobile military plane that they have as like a van they basically live in.
Hashtag two dads.
Hashtag two dads.
Hashtag two dads.
So I feel like we kind of glazed over it a bit, but really quick, because I was like sitting here excited, like yeah, waiting for the thing with Vamp. So we kind of glazed over Dean, but there's been 2 astronomical retcons so far in Metal Gear, and I'll do them both as quick as I can. So you know the midi-chlorians thing in Star Wars?
Yeah.
They've done that twice already in these games.
Oh my god.
In MGS5, they talk about how everyone from MGS3 who has supernatural powers, whether it be bees, being a fucking ghost, like all this weird stuff, their superpowers are made from those parasites that have like the speech stuff.
Yeah.
And they played around with a bunch of different. Technically, if anyone's wondering and like listen to the podcast, it's archaea. It's like a primordial soup version of bacteria, but more or less it's bacteria / a virus. In terms of the actual story, you might as well say it's a parasite or a virus. But that's how they have the superpowers. And that includes like Volgan shooting lightning. That includes Volgan being on fire. That includes, I think, Psychomantis with his like mind telepathy is that as well. And then in MGS4, because it came out before 5, they talked about how everyone from MGS 1 and 2 have something to do with nanomachines.
Right.
In their setup. It's like Vamp's a vampire. Like he gets shot in the head twice and he just like slinks back up and the bullet hole closes. It's nanomachines. There's a point where I'm trying to think. There's a bunch of random superhero shit that goes on in these games, but like every time there's been a moment of superhero shit going on, it's been nanomachines to one extent or another.
Speaking of nanomachines.
Go nuts, Gabe.
Oh my god.
This is you were mentioning before how you liked all the images that I used to these in between frames. This was the one I had the most fun making.
Yeah, this is easily the best. And they all fit well.
These all work.
Best game in the series.
Easily.
What's the Italian one about?
Sam.
That's not Italian. That's
he's Italian.
Is he? I mean, they might not talk about it, but I believe it.
Oh yeah.
I think before
the meme is that he's Italian. He's not actually Italian. The joke is that he's
it's just that he's very spicy.
It's also important to note that we are no longer discussing Metal Gear Solid, but Metal Gear Rising.
So, Dean, you've gone through the worst of it at this point. Just pretend that it's an anime.
This is now the easiest one to get through because this is only one slide to explain the plot of this game because the plot of this game is like a Scooby-Doo episode. It's very good.
The only prior thing they bring up is the Patriots, but you could really just interchange it with the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, following the events of Metal Gear Solid 4, Raiden finds out that Rose, his hot goth wife, has a kid, but the kid is actually his kid. It's not anyone else's kid, it's his kid. But Raiden doesn't want to pay child support, so he joins the military again. And he goes to Africa where he meets up with this fucking guy named Sundowner. I was talking with a friend of mine while I was producing this, and I just told him that I have no idea how I'm going to explain Sundowner. He is a man who defies explanation. Basically,
he is the alt-right.
No. This is the Texas. This guy is from fucking Texas, and he really likes war, and he really likes war crimes, like more than Big Boss. Even this guy really, really likes war.
This is the type of guy that would have passed Texas abortion bill.
The photo,
he's a downright villain.
The photo in the bottom there of him cheering, it's him cheering while he's saying the word 9/11, just for context on who this man is and what his deal is.
He is surrounded by the brains of children who are going through VR programs to be put into military robots. And he's saying, let's bring back the glory days of 9/11 when we had war for war's sake.
The stock price for PMCs is about to skyrocket. This is like the good old days after 9/11. Is the line.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Oh my god!
While he's also in Africa, he meets up with this guy. Fucking guy.
Most base character in the game.
Most base character.
This is the Italian.
Him and Just Shoot Sam get into a fight, and he gets his eye cut out, and he gets super duper fucked up on a train fight with Sam, and then he gets a super fucking edgy robot body. And what follows is essentially, I jumped ahead there. So the Metal Gear Solid Rising game is pretty simple. Raiden has to go. He has to go through the world marshal, find the secrets of World Marshal, and take out all the Desperado unit. Desperado unit is this guy Sam and this guy Sundowner and a couple other people, but these two are the ones that matter. And at the head, there's also Monsoon. I can't explain monsoon. I'm not going to try.
He's a clown from One Piece.
He's the clown from One Piece.
Yeah, he's Boogie the Clown. He's Boogie the Clown.
You never need to explain him. He's always just Boogie the Clown.
What is worth explaining about Metal Gear Rising is its main villain, this fucking guy named Armstrong.
It's amazing individual.
Armstrong, in essence, he is an insane man who read the ideologies of both the Patriots and Big Boss and was like, what if I did both at the same fucking time? He's really so basically his whole thing is that he wants to now that the world is more or less at peace following the destruction of the Patriots, he's like, this fucking sucks. Let's have more wars. It's good for the economy. If we can make more wars, I can become president, and then I can turn the world into a borderless libertarian paradise where everyone is just free to do war as much as they want for any reason. There are no government and no taxes. He's basically an antithesis of both insane high control authoritarianism and also libertarianism. If this kind of ideology doesn't sound like it makes any goddamn sense, it's because this man doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Honestly, he's if you had like a gumbo pot and you threw in Lyndon B. Johnson, Trump, Dick Cheney, and Richard Nixon, and you just got this like super president. And when you see him in his final form, he literally looks like those four men put together. Yeah, there we go.
Where yes, so
he also doesn't he say that he wants to make America great again?
He does literally say he wants to make America great again.
Because it was like an old 80s Reagan libertarian line, and it lines up perfectly with like these really weird pro-war, like freedom things he's saying. It's perfect. And then it just randomly happened to be prophetic.
It happened to be randomly prophetic, and this game came out like a year before Donald Trump announced his run, which is also just all kinds of wild. This game series just continues to be like mortifyingly prophetic.
Trump looked at Metal Gear Rising like, that's the man I could base myself on.
So Armstrong beats the ever-loving shit out of Raiden, and then Raiden kills him with a sword. And the game ends with Raiden saying that he's got his own he's got more shit to do. So there's some sequel bait, but the sequel never came out because Konami hates money.
Konami loves pachinko machines. So if we ever get a Metal Gear Rising sequel, it's gonna be through a pachinko machine.
This would be the end of the podcast, but I do have one more part that I want to get through, which I think is going to be an interesting part for discussion amongst us Metal Gear fans, which is where we talk about games, unreleased games, crossovers, and like fan theories that may or may not be canon. Most of them are not, but some of them might be, but like probably not. I've called this part games, unreleased games, crossovers, and fan theories that may or may not be canon. Most of them are not, but some of them might be, but probably not.
Nice.
The first game I want to talk about, right off the back of Metal Gear Rising, I want to talk about Metal Gear Solid Rising. And you might think, we just talked about Metal Gear Solid Rising. No, we did not. We talked about Metal Gear Rising, but Metal Gear Solid Rising was the original game that was going to be made directly by Kojima. And it was going to be set in between Metal Gear 2 and 4, I believe, and to sort of be like an explanation as to why Raiden's super duper cyborg now. But this game was all going to be, it was going to have a whole bunch of cutting mechanics and shit, and it was basically just slice stuff. But this game ended up, canceled is the wrong word because it technically came out in the form of Rising, but it was a completely different game. So the canon status of this game and its story is unreleased, in my opinion. How do we all feel about Metal Gear Rising? Solid Rising, I mean.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, because a lot of the tech just got transferred over. It's kind of like the skeleton got transferred over into Rising.
I know this was one of my like absolute darlings. I used to check weekly for news on it.
Oh, yeah.
But if you play Ground Zeroes, Phantom Pain, and Revengeance, you can kind of triangulate what the game would have been, because it did have a very interesting like cutting style, and it had a very like large open world with very like not like super open world, but it had larger areas. It was way more like splayed out than Revengeance was.
Yeah.
In Phantom Pain and Ground Zeroes, you can play as Raiden, and his moveset is Snakes, but much stronger and about 30% faster.
Yeah.
And I think it's a pretty good like understanding that the blades would have probably felt something like Platinum but toned down, and then the rest of the game would have been MGS5 when you play as Raiden.
Yeah.
But also, it's got that same shit with Sahelanthropus, where like Raiden looks like
a super advanced monster, and then gets a major downgrade for 4.
Yeah, he looks like an Oni made of like jet plane parts in Revengeance, and they were going with the same setup where he's got like this skull jaw and these like pointed bat ears that make up a like face mask. And it's really weird that he would then be downgraded to what looks like a medical apparatus in MGS4. Like it looks like they just recently figured out how to make a robot human.
Yeah.
In 4. But in this one, it looks like they've had them for decades, and they're now doing like Ricer robots.
Yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, this game never came out, so we'll never know what specifically. I mean, I'm sure there's explanations for it that I'm forgetting, but like the exact what happens with Raiden in between 2 and 4, kind of up in the air. But in the more not canon territory, we can talk about Snake's Revenge.
Oh yeah,
which is a bit of an interesting situation. So Snake's Revenge was another NES game that was released as a sequel to Metal Gear 1.
To the NES one. The NES.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one because this game is like it's like a completely different game. Snake is like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type now, and he does a lot of racism in like Middle Eastern countries because this game was like, we have to appeal to the Americans. And at the end, there's a big boss who's like resurrected in a robot body. This game is not canon.
Oh yeah, no.
This game is super duper not canon.
Yeah, I'd like to think that if they were given the chance to make a Metal Gear Solid 6, they would have made it canon.
It's possible.
Honestly,
that's what I like.
Just in between Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2, there was this point where Snake beefed the fuck up and fought a cyborg giant body. Big boss.
If they were to ever make a 6, the entire point would be to explain the existence of Snake's Revenge.
It would be.
Oh my god.
Another game that was not for the NES but was for the Game Boy that is Ghost Babel, which is one that I haven't played, but I've heard it's awesome. I've heard it's kind of awesome.
It's amazing.
But
it's amazing.
I've been meaning to play it. From what I've heard though, not canon. Probably, most likely. From what I've heard, there's nothing in particular standing in the way of this being canon. Like, there's no like continuity issues, but it is not considered canon. It's like it's just a side game that also exists. Definitely not canon though.
Ghost Babel
is the PSP games. Morgan, we were actually talking about this before the podcast. Yeah. The Metal Gear Acid games,
which are the most based games in the series.
It's very interesting. So, okay, I'm glad you asked. The Metal Gear Acid games are a very interesting situation. So, these are the first Metal Gear games made for the PSP, and they follow. They're basically card games.
They're like card strategy games. Like
they're card strategy games. Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, imagine if you made like the Final Fantasy Tactic games, but instead of like conventional actions, you just used cards, like a card system.
Right. Okay.
Right.
And you play as this guy, Snake, who you might think, oh, well, this guy's named Snake, and he has a bandana and everything. This might be Snake.
Bring up the chart. Snake.
I didn't actually put the chart in here.
Damn.
If I put the chart in here, I would breach 69 charts, but I would reach 69 slides. I mean, but yeah, basically, this is not Snake at all. This is a different guy who is just also called Snake.
Yeah.
The story of Metal Gear Acid has but he's also like, he's the same backstory as Snake, so he's essentially the same character, but he's a completely different character. And he also dies at the end of the first one and gets cloned for the second one.
Sorry to interrupt, but aren't these games like 200 years in the future?
They are also 200 years.
Yeah, they are like way in the future. That's a thing. That makes them nonsensical.
I gave Dean Whiplash. That's great.
So look, these games are so not canon. They're like these games are essentially fan fiction. They're fan fiction.
They're the best part of fan fiction.
They're basically like we'll take a character Snake that we really love and put him in a game 200 years in the future that has literally nothing to do with the Metal Gear franchise as a whole.
Also, let's just throw in some waifus, because why not?
They're kind of awesome. These games are kind of awesome.
Really awesome.
Even though they're fan
so
fiction, I would super recommend them. They're kind of fucking rad.
They are so radical.
Also fucking rad. And we're gonna get into some Kojima deep lore now for the rest of this podcast. So first one.
Oh, are we gonna talk about Abandoned?
PT. We are talking about Abandoned in a second, but we're talking about PT right now. So PT,
I just got caught up yesterday. I'm sorry, I'm way too excited, but I just got caught up in everything for Abandoned.
PT was released in 2014, leading up
first year the PlayStation 4,
yeah, and it was a game. No one knew what this game was. It was shrouded with a whole bunch of mystery. There was ghosts, there was hallways, there was baby. So there's this bathroom shot of Phantom Pain, and while there was not a lot of speculation about this game being a Metal Gear game, in fact, there was no speculation because that would have been ridiculous. There was just speculation about what this game could be and what it would be, and then it turned out to be a Silent Hill game. So this game has nothing to do with Metal Gear. It's literally a Silent Hill game.
Yeah, before we continue... Oh, wait.
Oh, no, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, before we continue, I want to give a little shout out. I think his name's 98 D-Make. He's currently making a D-Make of PT where you play as Harry Mason.
Yeah,
and it plays like Silent Hill 1.
Send me that. Morgan, send me that. That's amazing.
That's
baller.
Potentially canon, though, is the game immediately following Silent Hills that Kojima made as his comeback tour, which is Death Stranding. And this game features Norman Reedus doing a whole bunch of boxes and stuff, and was eventually revealed to be just that. And like people, the idea of it being a Metal Gear game was like in the wind. When this game was first revealed, there was a lot of speculation about it being a Metal Gear game because there was a lot of mystery shrouding it. It was a Kojima game. No one knew what the deal was, but there were some hints. There were some things that people picked up on. The first one being that this lady, who is a character named Amelie in the game, in the Japanese version, she's voiced by the same voice actress who voices the boss. And this is information that was known way before like the game. A lot of information was known about the game. So like way back early in development, not early in development, but yeah, early in like release, early in like marketing. This was one of the only known pieces of information about this game. So a lot of people were speculating that this game was essentially like a Metal Gear Zero, where you would play as the Cobra unit, and that's why there's so much like beach imagery and baby imagery and like weird mystical war shit happening. Because
you know what, in hindsight, I could see how people would think that.
Honestly, it sounds like a metal idea. We're just thinking about it.
There's even more.
Yeah.
There's even more because then this character, Mads Mikkelsen's character, was revealed as like a leader of a skeleton squadron, a ghost squadron even, and a lot of people were speculating that this character before it was known that he was a guy named Cliff. It was speculated that he was the Sorrow, and this Amelie character was the boss, and that Mads Mikkelsen was playing the Sorrow. I don't remember there being a ton of speculation on who Norman Reedus could have been. But I have a personal retroactive fan theory almost that he was essentially the Fury, which tied that like if this was a Metal Gear Zero game about the Cobra unit, Norman Reedus was the Fury, which ties into that there was a lot of speculation relating to this Ludens character who is the Kojima logo, who is also motion captured by Norman Reedus and is also an astronaut. So that was my theory at the time. And then, of course, this was all turned out to be totally fake because Death Stranding came out and actually had literally nothing to do with Metal Gear whatsoever. It was just its own game completely, potentially.
I had to double check.
Not canon yet.
There's always the potential that this game there'll be like this will be revealed to be canon in the sequel. Who knows? It's set so far in the future that there's truly nothing stopping them, or that they had the means to do it. But I'm not going to close the door on this being canon just yet. I'm not willing to do that.
It's actually a sequel to like Metal Gear Acid.
It is a sequel to Metal Gear Acid. This is canon to Metal Gear Acid. But Michael, you asked me, so here's your slide here's a frame of Hideo Kojima as God, as Jesus.
This was thank you very much, Gabe. That's better than I thought. So I had this one theory that I really wanted to talk about, and it all starts back with Peace Walker. So in the game, when you're big boss and you're making your army and you're collecting your child soldiers, before he does child soldiers, he starts to just kidnap soldiers. You'll literally just take them, pick them up, and like put them in boxes or trucks, and you're like, ship them off to my army, and they're gonna be part of my army. And so there's this one level, and if you hide behind a box, you can listen to these two soldiers talking, and one of them's like, hey, did you hear that like they picked up God? Like he was just hanging out in one of the residential areas, and we found him and we just tied him and put him in one of the trucks. And the other guy's like, you didn't find God. What are you talking about? And so Snake goes to check it out, and it's Hideo Kojima in the trunk of a car. And Snake's like, oh, Mr. Kojima, what are you doing here? And then Hideo Kojima gets added to your army. And like the guys called me out on, there have been 3 Metal Gear games now where you can get Kojima and put him in your army, and it just absolutely blows your status out of the water. Like he's amazing at everything because he's Kojima. And yeah, if you're going on that one conversation, Kojima is the god of Metal Gear, not just in like a existential write the story way, but like characters recognize him as god. That's all.
Greatest piece of self-insert I've ever seen.
The greatest self-insert.
Better than Sonichu.
And finally, not finally, there's 2 more I have to discuss. There's one, but this is the one that we were talking about just a couple seconds ago. Abandoned. This is a really interesting subject because this is, like PT, not known to be a Hideo Kojima game at all. In fact, lots of sources are saying it's not, but it absolutely 100% is. So basically what Abandoned is this like PS5 game that has been announced that just looks like this like kind of shitty indie title. But there's been a whole bunch of support for it from Sony and from big industry heads like Jeff Keighley, who is also known to be good friends with Hideo Kojima. So like there's a lot of there's like a strange amount of huge industry support coming out for what is essentially being advertised as an indie game from a complete unknown studio. And if that's not weird enough, there's a whole bunch of shit going on with like development, like how the director's name is like an anagram for Hideo Kojima, or how like
it's also the I believe the Arabic translation is Kojima.
The
like
Arabic translation of his name is Kojima. There have been a whole bunch of tweets relating to Silent Hill and Metal Gear from both this game's director and Kojima. There's been a whole bunch of ARG shit going on. So it's right now it's kind of under speculation that Abandoned could be a Metal Gear game or a Silent Hill game.
So, just for clarification with Dean on this, the reason that people are really set on this is because if this was a Kojima game, this would be the 3rd time Hideo Kojima has announced a game by having several months of denying that he's part of it and making up a fake studio. He did that with MGS5. He did that with Silent Hills. And he more or less did it with Death Stranding as well. Like he put his name to it, but then everything else around it was just absolute mystery. Mm-hmm. He loved to fuck with people since like 2000 when it comes to these trailers.
And so the canon status of this game, who knows? This could not be a Metal Gear game at all. This could not be a Kojima game at all. It absolutely is a Kojima game, but like, who fucking knows?
Watching like 2 weeks from now when this podcast is released, and it's like absolutely confirmed to have nothing to do with Hideo Kojima.
It's actually serendipitous that we're doing this now because there's a PlayStation showcase in about 2 days.
Yeah.
For anyone who's listening to this, whenever this gets uploaded, there is a PlayStation showcase. We're recording this on September 7th.
Yeah.
Is it really September 7th? Jesus Christ. So it's not even 2 days from now. There is a PlayStation showcase tomorrow and if this is a Hideo Kojima game, we will find out tomorrow. And if you're watching this sometime in the future, we're recording this as of September 7th, so this is about to age like milk in exactly 1 day. This is going to age really amazing poorly in exactly 1 day. So
well, I mean, they already kind of confirmed that it's not Kojima. There was the whole thing where there was a there was an app/website that you could go to that would show the trailer being rendered in full time, in real time.
Yeah.
And it's just been an absolute disaster. Like, the one thing Kojima has at this point is the power and influence to make like campaigns work the way he wants them to. So
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been this poorly and this uninteresting.
Or it's a misdirect.
Or it's a psyop.
There was no trailer until tomorrow.
Oh God.
There's also a whole bunch of other shit like the fact that big chunks of the trailer you can find. I think the dead ringer from the dead one for me is the fact that you can find like clips that are used in the trailer from a modding website under Unreal demo footage for Unreal Forest demo footage.
Yeah.
But there's one more game that I have to talk about the canon status of.
We shall see, I suppose.
This better be Metal Gear Survive. God damn it, it's not Metal Gear Survive.
We're not talking about Metal Gear Survive. We're talking about Super Smash Bros. Brawl. The Subspace Emissary.
Metal Gear Survive is cool. It's got cool monsters in it.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So Snake shows up in the Subspace campaign. He shows up inside of Meta Knight's ship. Basically gets Peach and Zelda to fall in love with him immediately, turning two of the game's biggest industry icons into cucks. I just put this image in here because I really liked it. There's a god being, there's Taboo, there's a god being, and Snake fucking noob tubes him along with the entire Smash roster. This game is absolutely canon.
Oh yeah,
this game is canon, and I can prove it. This is the connective tissue between Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4. This is what Snake and Philanthropy was doing in between 2 and 4. They were
stopping Meta Knight.
They were stopping Meta Knight from creating a Metal Gear.
Technically Taboo.
And during
Skip is basically a giant flying Metal Gear.
But during Snake's adventures, he interacted with subspace material, which is known for, among other things, turning people into rock dudes. And his interaction with this is the real reason that he's like an old man. And also, Meta Knight turned Raiden into a cyborg. That was the other theory. Meta Knight turned Raiden into a cyborg, and the interaction with subspace particles made Snake old. This is canon. Kojima, answer my call.
If we are considering this canon, then I have to say that the Ape Escape crossover is also absolutely canon.
The Ape Escape canon. The Ape Escape crossover is absolutely canon.
Where Snake meets a monkey that looks and dresses exactly like him and acts exactly like him, and they have a very existential conversation, and then walk opposing ways into the sunset. If you've never seen the cutscene, just look it up on YouTube. It is amazing.
It's fantastic.
I'm gonna double down on mine then. That Snake fought a Monster Hunter dragon with an AR-15.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But unfortunately,
he became friends with that cat.
That is it for games that exist.
I also wanted to make it canon then that Raiden fought General what's his name from Killzone, General Radek or whatever.
Oh yeah, PlayStation also Battle Royale is also.
Yeah, it is 100% canon.
There are potential up there, like the Metal Gear franchise is not totally dead and over yet. As we mentioned, there is a potential abandoned. There is also the announced but never released Metal Gear Rising 2. This is a weird one because I don't think this has ever been formally canceled, but it was announced at Tokyo Game Show almost 10 fucking years ago. Like it was officially announced, and there's just nothing.
Well, I'm pretty sure. What's the other Platinum game? The one that was supposed to be on like Xbox. The one with the dragons.
Scalebound.
It's basically for a while it was kind of just what Scalebound was. Yeah, just dead but not announced.
No, Scalebound was canceled. Scalebound was fully canceled. Year and a half.
But like,
it's not canceled anymore, as far as I know. But it's still like it's in whatever.
It's dead in the water. It's in purgatory.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I feel like Platinum is one of those companies that just have so many projects going on that it's like one of them might come out eventually. Who knows? what like they announced like it not Itsuno Kamiya. He announced that fucking.
They still need to make Bayonetta 3, so.
They still need to make Bayonetta 3. They still need to make Kamiya's Ultraman game. They're an interesting company. There's also, of course, Blue Point's long rumored, still unofficially announced, their Metal Gear Solid 1 remake.
Yeah.
That's
rumored.
That's rumored, not officially confirmed or anything, but it's heavily rumored, and there's been a lot of leaks and stuff regarding it. And then there's of course there's Kojima's actual game that he's said he's working on with Junji Ito.
Yeah, I forgot about this.
He has like officially stated he's working on a horror game with Junji Ito. That's going to be his next game.
It was Death Stranding because Junji Ito was in it.
Junji Ito's in it, but this is going to be like
fucking god.
This is going to be one like Silent Hills, where like Junji Ito will be like directly involved with it. Like he's going to like do art and stuff for it. But that's pretty much it for Metal Gear today. So I hope you enjoyed my podcast. If you follow us, you might get we might do more like lore breakdowns in the future. I know last time we talked about doing an Evangelion episode.
Oh God,
a full Death Stranding episode explaining that game's whole bucket of lore.
God.
Mass Effect episode.
Why can't you do anything simple?
Also, it's no fun. It's not fun that way. All sorts of things could happen. So follow us.
I will say, real quick, if alternate hosts are allowed, I know it's been done to death, but I would love to do something like this for Kingdom Hearts.
Oh my god, that'll be a mess.
No, that's actually gonna be like 7 hours long.
I thought Everest was telling me he wanted to do one for the Ape Escape games.
The Ape Escape games I can do in like 20 minutes. That could be like the appetizer to Kingdom Hearts.
And then you somehow have to connect
need an
Ape Escape to Kingdom
appetizer.
Hearts.
It's a big enough meal for Kingdom Hearts. We don't need a starter dish.
That was a 5-course like dinner.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to mention that. Oh.
What a world.
Yeah. So yeah, we are the InkGuild and the Soibois. You can, if you are watching this on YouTube, which I would recommend that you do, we know that we are also on Spotify. This episode will be on Spotify. That's not the format I would recommend you watch it on, but we're on there anyway.
Yeah, the episode title should just be "Watch this on YouTube" instead.
Watch this on YouTube, please.
If you're on the bus and you don't got enough data for the video, then you can pop in on Spotify.
Hop in on Spotify, but
on Spotify.
You should probably watch this on YouTube.
Imagine trying to like listen to this audio and trying to connect it with like the game.
Without the visuals.
Without the visuals.
DrakenNieR is pretty easy to connect without visuals. Metal Gear is like please watch this on YouTube.
This is hard to comprehend even on its own. But yeah, so we're on YouTube and Spotify, and we are also on various social medias. You can follow us on our social media accounts. They'll be somewhere, I'm sure. You can follow us on there. You can message us. You can message if you have questions or corrections about this episode. So if you have any questions, just message me so I can ignore it. Anyway, that's it for the episode. Goodbye.
Woo! Bye everybody.
Farewell.
That's a fucking amazing ending.
That was good.